this is different. And I love it, man, because it got me thinking like I was back at school again. I don't even know where you come up with these questions. I want to know how you come up with these. You're so innovative. I'm like, look, I mean, your mind is good. Like you said, you're a history teacher, and your mind is going all over the place.
And it's also wonderful to hear people talk sanely to each other.
You have something amazing going with the show because you're there and you're educating us.
Sure. Your platform gives us an opportunity to really let our guard down. And I never told anybody in public about that experience with my dad. And on your platform, I don't know why I did that, because it's so comfortable and we're talking about things that matter.
I love the little anecdote of comedy with your would you pay for it? Would you not? I love that. I love how you added that in to kind of break up the tension a little bit, because it gets serious.
We want to know people's stories,
I concur.
And that's what TKN does, So I love
uplifting human being. Last name Ferrigno, first name Lou. Lou, welcome, my friend.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator and travel with me.
Together for a majestic, out of this world, one of a kind human being. First name Vivica, last name Fox. Welcome, my friend.
Whoa, that was an awesome introduction. Let me tell you that. I don't think I've ever had anyone read my resume with such flow.
Avi is a poet, but he doesn't know it, but his feet show it. You're unbelievable.
Last name Wilkins, first name Lenny. Lenny, welcome, my friend, to the Celebrity Tournament.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to this. It should be fun.
Last name Murphy, first name Calvin. Calvin, welcome to the tournament, my friend.
Damn. You said it just like I wrote it.
But these rhymes are going to wind down as I've reached the home stretch, the one and only Tretch. I appreciate
you better than a lot of these rappers out there.
You gave me good eargasm tonight, man. I love your voice. I love the things that you talk about.
Well, you're the best I've seen. You're the Michael Jordan or LeBron James, whoever you want to make the GOAT.
This is why your audiences love you. This is why you continue to great guests, and great guests beget great guests.
I just want to do this again and again. I feel like I've made friends. And again, I've taken the competition part of it out because I've just enjoyed talking to you guys tonight.
Oh man, most definitely. This is, I think my top. I mean, because when you do the intro you gave me, I gotta give it to you. I like.
You deserve it, because if you don't heal from what hurts you, you'll bleed on people that never even cut you to begin with. It had nothing to do with your pain.
All right.
So
tell him.
You guys are bringing the best out of me.
I mean, yes, pain is inevitable. I mean, there's a reason we have these sensors in our body. I mean, they're warning signs. In other words, something hurts. Obviously, something is amiss.
But she would sit at the kitchen table looking out the window for quite a period of time while the food was getting prepared. And I wish I had took that time to sit down with her and ask her questions about her being a child, along with my aunts, my uncles, so I could not only be a blessing to her and know more and sympathize and love her more as a mother, but also to know more about myself and my sisters and understand where we've come from.
This thing has drawn me out of myself and thereby drawn me into myself. But I learned a lot. And from you, Avi, I always learned something from you.
Continue to work as hard as you can, because by working, Avi, you will keep yourself busy and get used to the grief.
More underrated, we have Billy D. Williams, Italian man named Skippy, or Unicycle.
I'm sorry, Italian men named Skippy. Put me away, Avi.
Archie Bunker, the mountain climber. Ralph Cramden, the yoga instructor. Or Don Corleone, the computer repair person.
It's clearly an issue with the hard drive.
I'm going to go Don Corleone.
Here, the reason I'm going for Christmas is because it does create those amazing memories that and Sarge, I know you've been there too, because I've seen you at so many different
great events for Muscular Dystrophy Association.
You compete with yourself. The Joe Reed, especially working with him, taking pictures in the magazine, helping me to shape my body and educate my mind.
There are those of us who like to venture to the unexplored, to see the beauty in the strange and unknown. Those of us who go out there with a sense of wonder.
God, it matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
There is nothing that was on TV tonight that even remotely rivals what we did on this broadcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Barry, a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame and one of the NBA's top 50 players. And I'm really excited to tell you about my new relationship in the broadcasting world with the new network.
It's TKN, and a young man named Avi Klein has poured his blood, sweat, and tears into creating this new network and assembling an amazing group of individuals.
Legends from every walk of life who are just bringing their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom, and this is amazing. I feel like this is a cosmic convergence of what is most important to him, and he's such a stand-up guy.
Avi, congratulations. I don't know anybody that can talk as much as you. Seriously, I thought I could talk. You are unreal. What you do it with class, understanding, professionalism, you're simply amazing. I told you that when I first met you, and you ran off my autobiography. It basically was a book. It was simply fantastic. And to think that you do that every show.
He's very respectful, and he really connects with the artists and his audiences, and I felt like this guy's on to something, and I'm proud to be a part of this with him.
And I really thank your support. I lost my father, and you were the first person to support me in all that, and I thank you so much for that.
The greatest wealth is when you can share it with someone. You can share your victories, you can share your failure, you can express your deepest feelings, but the greatest wealth is to be able to say that I have a friend, and I feel an unbelievable level of wealth, and a lot of that is because I have somebody like you.
Are you here to win the whole darn tournament?
I don't play. I just win.
Robert, would you like to win this entire tournament?
You know, all those luminaries and athletes and strongmen notwithstanding, the most dangerous place on this show is between me and that prize. That's all I'm going to say.
You're chomping at the bit to get in this thing.
Yeah, man. I've been telling you, brother. You brought up some names to me, and I was like, I can't wait. I hope they don't see me, because it's going to be on like a steaming pot of neck bones, baby, and I'm not playing.
Are you here to win the entire thing, my friend?
I'll just say this, Avi. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
but are you here to win the entire celebrity tournament when it's all said and done?
I saw a very familiar face in Mike Rotundo, better known as IRS, and he said that he was here for the winner chicken dinner, and I want to take away that chicken dinner. So yes, I want to win this whole shebang.
Last name Smith, first name Joe. Joe Smith, welcome, my friend.
Oh my God, Avi. Where did you get all of that from? Oh my God.
Guys and gals and pals, welcome to the Green Room. We appreciate you guys and gals for inviting us to your living room. As you know, this is a sport of the mind, and I don't mind reminding you that there is no controversy here. We have conversation over controversy. We are growing by the day. Guys and gals, strangers leave us friends. We have philosophical fun, and let me bring in my competitors right now, guys and gals. But first, industrial-sized air conditioners at your favorite B&B in Alaska would be rendered obsolete after witnessing that intro because we're all fired up. That much is a fact. You've experienced luminary after luminary entered this virtual arena. Indeed, this tournament is quite stacked. I dubbed this vision of mine edutainment because I place emphasis on entertainment and education. Because on this station, we celebrate those that are passionate about their vocation. And this format is anything but the same old, same old. So I thank you for embracing the innovation and expressing your constant elation when it comes to taking in the most star-studded tournament of them all. A place where competitors convey their level of admiration while we marvel at the information, passion, and perspiration when observing this wide array of talent that make up the population of strong-minded thinkers that enlighten us, which is why I subscribe to Conversation, because listening and applying is how we get to our destination. We're all so much closer than we are apart, which is why this show offers a demonstration of what's right about us as a society. So for all the new viewers out there who have a fascination, sit back and enjoy as I put a cap on this verbal dissertation. Guys and gals and pals, we are so much closer than we are apart, so smile at your neighbor, promote positivity, and never apologize for your passion. Here on the new network, it's quite evident that compassion is what's in fashion. I subscribe, guys and gals, to conversation over controversy. That is my way. Let's keep doing what we do and realize that our motto isn't a Sherlock Holmes mystery. A legendary director of Superman fame, my mentor, told me years ago, write your own history. Teaching history and screenwriting for the best was one thing, but sharing your history is an honor. That mentor lives in my heart daily. His name was Richard Donner. So guys and gals and pals, sit back and realize what we witnessed here in this tournament, oh so grand. We discover and rediscover our humanity through open dialogue and expand. So be prepared to give a hand to competitors that are about to work their sweat gland. Guys and gals and pals, the bard Mr. Shakespeare once said, it's not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves. So if you love something, don't hate others that do, because doing is the sweet nectar that's most rewarding. Take a moment to breathe, admire your desire to aspire, because if you don't, life will be but a blur. Of this I'm sure, so never hate the flower for starting it as a seed. Long distance running is essential. It's not a stampede, so don't run anyone over on your way to the top. Focus on yourself and never forget to cheerlead. Root for your loved ones and lift people up. This human fortune cookie hopes that we all agree that positivity is something we can never concede. So guys and gals and pals, I'm going to bring in our Duke legend right about now. I see him backstage. I want to give him the proper introduction. I'm going to bring these gentlemen the proper introduction, and I hope that they enjoy. A champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. And I have a great deal of respect for my next guest. He reminds us that it's not a race against anyone else, but rather the real journey is only against yourself and your unrealized potential. You have no idea what you're capable of until you test your limits. He grew up in West Philadelphia as his mom, Barbara, was truly an inspirational force. She didn't let a thing like tuberculosis stop her from living life to the fullest or change her course. She was a devoted churchwoman and mother of 8 children, including Derek and Daryl, 4 daughters, Barbara, Natalie, Pamela, Heidi, and tonight's incredible guest. He was one of the most coveted high school players of all time, and he played for the West Philadelphia Speed Boys. They were AA legendary crew that won state titles and drew crowds of such magnitude with their talent and poise that they began playing their games as preliminaries to the Sixers, as their audience always brought the noise. He didn't know a lot about Duke, but his English teacher asked him for academic reasons to give them a shot. His high school coach, Joey Goldberg, had worked camps with Duke. Head coach Bill Foster, so he said, hey, why not? It came down to UNC, UCLA, Duke, Notre Dame, and Penn, which was practically next door. Even the mighty Will Chamberlain put in a call to UCLA so that he could play on their floor. In January of '77, this man stunned the world by announcing at a press conference that he was committing to the Duke Blue. This man is coming t-shirts were showing up on the Duke campus as his legend grew and grew, even before he realized the '77 Capital Classic. His game was as reliable as Grandma Stew, and his defenders would go crazy, attempting to guard him like Jack Nicholson going cuckoo. He changed things right away. As Duke stated selling out Cameron Indoor Stadium due to his presence. He ruled the courts like a Wild West sheriff, portrayed by the rough and tough Jack Palance. Senior Day was one of the more memorable regular season games in Duke history. For those that recall those events, this memory is definitely not a mystery. Pre-game, he handed out red roses to the student sections, just as he's done in his last high school game in Philly. He made the most improbable shot that sent the game with UNC into overtime. He also made the shot in the OT that provided a 66-65 victory, as I continue to rhyme. If you were an opponent of his, you were definitely in trouble like a bunny kicking it in the Everglades. It's now time for me to chronicle this man's many accomplishments and accolades. He was a two-time All-American and a member of the ACC Hall of Fame and Duke Hall of Fame. He was ACC Rookie of the Year in 78, first-team All-ACC in 81, second-team All-ACC from 78 to 80, first-team Parade All-American in 76-77, McDonald's All-American in 77, team MVP 3-time. He was the 6th all-time scorer in Duke. He pioneered a new style of play at Duke. He helped Duke reach the NCAA championship game in 1978, and he's 6th all-time in scoring at Duke with 2,079 points. He was a great pro, as he helped lead the Spurs to the conference finals against the Lakers in 83. His passion and consistency shushed, guys and gals, everyone that would decree. This man's joy always had endless glee, as his legacy was cemented since he was a teen. He was a force on the court like Arnold playing a machine. He gave opposing coaches headaches, including legends named Dean. So give it up for a talented, kind, positive human being. Last name Banks, first name Gene. Welcome to the Celebrity Tournament, my good friend.
My goodness, I tell you, I could not have written that better. I'm flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted. Thank you so much, and it's an honor to be on this show.
Well, my friend, you deserve it. You've done a lot for a lot of different people, and I'm glad you're here. Man, I got to say this before I even ask you the magic question about the tournament. Gene, again, you do a lot for the alumni. You do a lot for anybody that needs any help. You're part of one of the greatest high school teams in West Philadelphia of all time, an amazing pro, an amazing college player. You know competition. Is it fair to say that the greatest accolade you can receive is a nod of respect from a youngster who says, you helped me?
It's the most greatest thing ever. I mean, when I went to Duke University, the one thing going to Duke, I didn't know anything about Duke University. I mean, up in Philadelphia, even know that we had the Big Five. You had St. Joe's, Penn, LaSalle, Villanova, just to name a few. And that's what that's what I raised on and watching. The only thing we knew about the South was David Thompson when they played UCLA. Other than that, everything was all East Coast and Northeast. And it was my English teacher, as you well stated. He was the one that says, if you don't do anything else, go visit the school, the architecture, the academics, and so forth. And just to get them off my back, because I had one more choice to go, because you had to pick 6 schools. The 6th school I was going to pick was Hawaii. Hawaii. I want to go take a trip to Hawaii. So
why not? There you go.
Yeah. So, but the thing was with him was I said, I'll go. And I went down to Duke, and when I went to Duke, I saw the architecture and everything else. And one of the things that was intriguing to me, there wasn't a lot of blacks at Duke at the time. There was a cluster, but they had a good union, a solidarity. And then all of a sudden, I just said to myself, you know what? I think I may want to think about going here. And what topped it off, it was really divine intervention, because I would have went to University of Pennsylvania. Here's the key. University of Pennsylvania had me because of Tim Smith, who was a teammate of mine that went there. But the Ivy League did not change the rule for freshmen playing varsity basketball.
Sure.
So that changed. But it's interesting, when we went to the final for the championship game, the very next year they changed the rule. So
I love your inspiration on the court, and I also love as I ask you the magic question now. I'm going to ask you a lot of other questions between topics, but I love that you took the advice of your mom when you went into your room, closed the door, and you prayed. And in a dream, you saw yourself wearing a blue and white Duke uniform. That's pretty cool.
That's amazing. I mean, that's what happened. I went in the room. Yeah. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I really don't know where to go. I mean, I'm 17 years old. Every school laid it all out. UCLA was awesome, to be able to go to Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion on your visit. it was pretty intense. So I had that. So UCLA also had Andre McCarter, who went there from Overbrook High School, and they changed his
same high school that Will Chamberlain went to.
Went to the same high school, and they changed his game. So that had to say. I said, Mom, I really don't know where I want to go. And she said, well, go in the room. And I went in my room. She locked my door. The old skeleton. We had the old skeleton keys. And I laid down. I put on my Barry White music. I love
Yeah.
And as I put the Barry White music on, I laid down and I dreamt, as you said, of wearing the Duke uniform. When I woke up the next morning, I said, Mom, you tell us to believe in visions. And I said I was going to go to Duke. When we called the school up, we decided the school said, hold up, don't come. Make a long story short, we're walking up to school because it wasn't that far. And I was kind of scared. You know, it's a 17-year-old, a big decision. And my mom's walking with me. I'm walking like she's taking me to kindergarten, first day of kindergarten.
Wow.
She put her hand in my hand. She looked down and said, it's going to be okay. You are going to do something that's going to change things for a lot of people, especially when it comes to Black young men. And when I had the press conference, I said I was going to Duke. Everybody said, what the hell? Duke? Do they even have a basketball team?
Well, they did once you entered there, and you changed the culture there. Gene, I got to ask you the magic question as I bring in our next two participants. 15 grand, 5-day trip to Greece, 137 Hall of Famers and award winners in this tournament. Never before anything like this. Are you here to win it all, my friend?
I'm here to win it all because of the fact that I want to go to Greece.
I love it. I love it. My friend, I will bring you back momentarily. The great Gene Banks, guys. I'm bringing him back in. As soon as I bring in my next two participants, we'll all join the screen, and we'll handle topic number one. Guys and gals and pals, I want to bring in our next participant who is a giant of a man and has a giant heart as well. I'm going to bring him in right now and give him the proper introduction he deserves. He was born in 1948 in the small town of Chipley on the Florida Panhandle, but growing up wasn't easy. It didn't resemble heaven. He grew up poor, living in a 3-room house with dirt floors that he shared with his family of 11. You want to talk about paying dues? You want to talk about appreciating what you have when there isn't a lot? This man's kind heart and soft-spoken nature showcases humanity, even though he had it rough since he was a tot. For 2 years of his early adolescence, he was barefooted there, and everywhere when his feet grew too large to get shoes from the local store, yet he overcame plight after plight. His father, Otis, stood 5'7", while his mother, Maddie, was 6'2". Our luminary definitely took after her when it came to height. Many people assumed that his first love was basketball, but it was actually football. A shame that people have to be labeled. His father, Otis, was a fisherman who had his struggles, as this kind man was actually disabled. A good dinner often depended on how well the fish were, biting for his father, even as his son was 6'5" by age 14. This was years before he became one of the greatest of all time, a sight to be seen, which we all know by the time he played his final NBA game wearing the Celtic green. His mother was his hero. With very little, she was able to raise a family of 9 kids, as she cared for them like a beautiful dove. With tears in her eyes, due to lack of food and clothes, she gave her kids unconditional love. Let's hear it for the moms who put themselves last and their kids first. When it came to efficiency on the court, this man was definitely well-versed. He started to take basketball seriously as a 9th grade member of Rolex Junior Varsity. He only got in about the last 2 minutes of every game, but soon we'd all agree that he was a force and would become a top draftee, as his name was on the marquee, and it ushered in the fans who screamed his name like an enthusiastic banshee. He had his biggest game against Bethune High School of Bristol, where he scored 32 points, 12 assists, and get this, 72 rebounds. This despite the fact that at the time, he only weighed about 220 pounds. At Dothan Carver, he averaged 33 points and 28 rebounds a game and made several high school All-American teams. It was at that point that he knew he wanted to make something of himself in basketball, as the man had dreams. At Gardner-Webb in Boiling Springs, North Carolina, he was finally getting challenged thanks to Coach Eddie Hall-Brook. He had heard from about 200 schools, but Gardner-Webb was the only school he visited, so their offer he took. Hall-Brook took the grassroots approach. His recruiting pitch included a 7'6" bed. With his many tools, work ethic, and drive, it's no wonder the recruiters sped as they beat on his door like a ticked-off Flintstone named Fred. Next up was Jacksonville University, a small private school college with little to no name recognition at the time. How about this rhyme? He led his small school all the way to the finals of the 78-70 NCAA tournament as his value continued to climb. As a JU Dolphin, he broke the record for average rebounds per game at 22.7, which he still holds to this day. He also became a 2-time All-American honoree as he was gaining attention like a certain baseball team playing in Shea. He also wanted to help his family, so when the ABA wanted to pay the most heralded big man since Kareem, the Colonels did not waste much time putting their $1 million talent on display. He was chosen in the first round of the ABA draft and signed with the Kentucky Colonels, where he would win Rookie of the Year and MVP honors in 71-72. He led the Colonels to the ABA title in 74-75 as his legend grew and grew. A year later, the ABA-NBA merger took him to the Chicago Bulls and then the Spurs, where he would continue to dominate. Let me now bring up the accolades to remind you that this man is on Mount Rushmore. He's an absolute great. He remains the all-time NCAA leader in career rebounding average with 22.6. He holds the NBA career record for highest field goal percentage at .599. He's considered the game's top career left-hand scorer with 24,941 points, which ranks 14th all-time in professional basketball history. His stardom was well known as he was an all-star in 11 out of 18 professional seasons. He's currently the 3rd highest shot blocker in pro basketball history with 3,178 swats, and is the 4th highest in rebounds with 16,330. He was the ABA playoffs most valuable player in 75. He was the ABA most valuable player in 72. He was a 6-time NBA All-Star, 5-time ABA All-Star. He was the ABA All-Star Game MVP in 74. He was a 5-time All-ABA first-team member. He was a 4-time ABA All-Defensive first-team member. He was the ABA Rookie of the Year in 72, and he was a 4-time ABA rebounding champion champion, and he's part of the ABA all-time team. He was also inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 2011. They know his name from Bangor, Maine to southern Spain, as the only thing bigger than his game is his heart, as he provides many people bliss. So to our large audience, sit back and grab a drink and follow it up with a Hershey kiss, as I'd be remiss if I didn't inform you that these rhymes are about to end, but no need to hiss, as I welcome a legend and calm human being. Last name Gilmore, first name Artis. Welcome, my friend, to the Celebrity Tournament. Artis Gilmore, how are you, my friend?
Whoa. Aubrey, man, what an introduction from the A Train, Artis Gilmore. Thank you so very much. That's so kind.
It is my honor. It is my honor. A lot of people don't know this, but they should know this, because the man behind the game, despite the fame and the acclaim, is the man, Artis Gilmore, to my right over here, that did it all for his family. You did it all for your family, my friend. As a matter of fact, I'll ask you the age-old question as well. I do want to bring this up. You know, when people talk about how you grew up, there was a lot of segregation during that time. And Dothan was about 32 miles away. And in those days, because of the separation of people of different races, you had to go to the community center in Dothan for basketball. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. There's no question about the timing and the way things were during that era when I was a kid growing up. The social activities in the summer were not available because of integration. So they lend us a bus, and we would go to Dothan and do our little celebration for a day, because it was only 32 miles away and across state line. But we were able to go there and enjoy the day because it was the largest city, and the accommodation was better.
Wow, that is incredible. You know, I want to bring this up because I'm about to bring in our next participant right here, guys and gals, a poet and a Hall of Famer. I'm about to bring him in right now. But I also want to bring this up because our fans should know this story. I think it's an interesting one. You know, I'm thinking about the night where you guys clinched the crown, the Colonels, in 75. I think it was May 22nd. Freedom Hall had 16,000 plus witnessing history. But something bizarre happened. As the Kentucky players began to cut down the nets, a thunderstorm knocked out electricity and plunged the arena into darkness. But before the game, you and your wife, Enola Gay, had left your daughter Shauna with a young babysitter. And it was a thrilling moment. But, you know, you guys didn't know what was going to happen because you guys were talking about that storm, and your babysitter lit the candles after the lights went out, and your daughter, something horrific, her hair lit on fire. You had to leave the arena and get that tended to. Is that right?
Well, we were able to get back there. We found out a little later this was something that took place because there was no way of, as you said, the lights and everything was out. No way of communication, finding it out. And so we found out that that little incident took place, during the activities and the celebration of the championship.
Right.
And yes, that was a moment for us.
Incredible. Guys and gals and pals, between topics, we'll talk more with Gene, Artis, and our next participant about their life and what they've done for so many people. But Artis, I got to ask you the magic question. 15 grand, 5-day trip to Greece, all expenses paid. Are you here to win the entire tournament, my friend?
Oh, absolutely. Just to make sure that I send my dear friend, very dear friend, Gene Banks home.
Gene Banks, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And you never know, you might get Rick Barry the next round if you advance. Rick is now in the next round, so who knows? A lot of great combinations, Spencer Haywood. But Artis, man, you are a treasure. I'm going to put you backstage for a moment and bring in our third participant.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, my friend. I'm going to bring Artis back and Gene Bank, but I'm about to bring in our final participant right now. Guys and gals and pals, you want to talk about someone that inspired me as a writer? He probably doesn't know that, but he did, because I'm also a basketball historian. This man is it. This man is it. Yeah. Our next participant is class personified. His mother must be a modern-day prophet because she named her baby boy for Alexander the Great because she felt he would become a great man. And boy, oh boy, was she right. The bard Mr. Shakespeare said, if we're true to ourselves, we cannot be false to anyone. Guys and gals, our next participant is a remarkable and fascinating human being with layers of depth, going several orders of magnitude deep. And he shared that intimate understanding of the self with a public audience. That is more than a gift. That's a miracle. He grew up in a very segregated Columbia, South Carolina, and experienced racism, but he persevered and inspired many people through his kind heart. including this screenwriter who read his poetry from the start as it grabbed me like an uppercut from Humphrey Bogart. He grew up in his grandmother's home, where she did her part to prevent her family from succumbing to the gray, as the racist mindsets that they encountered throughout their day would never truly go away. His grandmother was a laundry presser who at times took care of many as 11 of her 13 grandchildren, her grandkids. She was incredible, and she made sure that her grandchildren were taken care of without worrying about closing their eyelid. She would soothe everyone with her presence and determination, as she represents the unsung hero that we're all grateful for in this nation. He grew up in downtown Columbia on Barnwell and Gervais, and he can remember places like the Shady restaurant that had some of the best hash and rice around. As for dinner on Fridays, Nell's restaurant served the best bake, short ribs, pound for pound. Sometimes the delicacies of our childhood are illustrated beautifully and innocently, part of our undenying legacy, like, guys and gals, a picture of our ultrasound. But as a former U.S. history teacher, it upsets me to know that the real history of our country has been sold and locked away as the powers that be pray to nothing more than some cold hard cash, where the real heroes like the Buffalo Soldiers, the Freedom Riders, and more are ignored. Just ask Diane Nash. Very soon he would develop a shot that was smooth, consistent, hard to block, and oh so cool. He actually learned his jump shot from his principal in school. He attended Hand Junior High School and Dreher High School, where he was a starter in 78 high school basketball games and averaged 31 points per game in his junior year. On the court, you better steer clear and show no fear, because as many gifts in the hardwood spoke with authority, like a directive and ordered from one King Lear. More than 100 colleges recruited him, but he decided to attend the University of South Carolina because he wanted to be close to home. He played for Hall of Fame coach Frank McGuire, who was more knowledgeable than even the mighty Google Chrome. In 1975, he was named All-American, and he knew that he would help get into the NBA, and that is quite the feat. Enter the NBA, as he did 13 years after being drafted. That number 13 was only unlucky for Jordan, Kareem, and Bird. Why? Because this man had more points than anyone in that incredible decade. That's the word, you heard? After his rookie year, he never played in less than 78 games a year for the following 14 seasons. This Hall of Famer is one of the greatest of all time, and I'm about to list some reasons. I know right now, guys and gals, that I'm going to hit pause on rhyme time, so to our viewers, no need to be afraid. I'm about to mention this great many accolade. He was named to the NBA All-Star team 8 years in a row from 82 to 89. He won the NBA scoring title in 83. No NBA player scored more points than him between 1979 and 1993. He was named to the All-NBA second team 3 years in a row, 82, 83, 86. He was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1997. He won the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award in 88. He's the only player to average 24-plus points, 5-plus rebounds, 4-plus assists while shooting 50% from the field in NBA playoffs history. He received the National Civil Rights Museum Sports Legacy Award in 2024 for his efforts to advance Dr. King's values. The Denver Nuggets retired his jersey, and the South Carolina Gamecocks retired his 22 jersey. The first NBA player to have 8 consecutive 2,000-point seasons, and he accomplished so very much ever since he donned an NBA uniform as a Milwaukee Buck. Starring opposite Gregory Peck and Jamie Lee Curtis, showcased his range in this inspirational film, Amazing Grace and Chuck. As an English major, he developed an interest in the poetry of Robert Frost. Whether it was in hotel rooms or restaurants, after or before games, he wrote poetry when he was inspired at any cost. He was the first ever director of players program for the NBA Players Association, but there's even more about this absolute great. Since 2014, he's been an active participant in the Sports Diplomacy's Sports Envoy program for the U.S. Department of State. He's published several poetry books, and my absolute favorite poem of his is Third World 2. After watching the Ethiopian famine, his beautiful heart and soul expressed literary excellence through and through as he remained true to his virtues and worldview. Peter McWilliams, a contemporary poet who uses free verse, would definitely appreciate this man who gave humanity more than merely a swish. So welcome a humble, kind, intelligent human being. First name Alex, last name English. Welcome, my friend, to the Celebrity Tournament.
Thank you, Avi. My goodness. I'm sitting here listening. Where did you get all that stuff?
You did it. You did it, my friend, and people should hear about it.
Thank
you, Alex. Thank you. Thank you for inspiring a young writer like me many moons ago. Isn't that kind of cool to know that you don't set out to do anything by having people give you roses or pat you on the back, but it's kind of cool to know when people like you and Gene and Artis use your platform for something good. You never know who you might inspire, right, Alex?
That's right, and I appreciate hearing that. You know, it's there's a lot of people in the world that look to us athletes to not only inspire them, but to give them a lift. And, you know, I'm glad that I got the opportunity to do that. I've been blessed.
Yeah, well, you've blessed us as well with your excellence and commitment to a lot of things, including civil rights, including the real history. I'll tell you this really quickly. I quit teaching U.S. history because I couldn't teach the real history, as Pete Babcock knows. I couldn't teach about the Buffalo Soldiers. I had Diane Nash, who's a freedom rider who's still with us, my assistant principal just blew her off. And I said, that's someone who did something, who made a difference. And we owe her our respect and our time and our love and compassion. And it seems like our teachers today have no clue about the real history, Alex.
I agree with you. And, you know, they're not being allowed to teach the real history, unfortunately, in this country going forward. We don't, you know, but we have to get our kids interested in books. We have to tell them the real story. We have to make books available to them. And I am about that. And I know Artis and Gene have the same heart that I do.
Absolutely. And I love how even when you grew up and, you know, you guys were definitely struggling, you said, hey, look, I had the greatest joy in my life doing something that didn't cost any money, which was the ability to read books.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, a book could take me anywhere. I grew up in poverty, but I've read books that have taken me to Greece and Italy and to the moon. And, you know, it's made me an educated person, knowledgeable about the world and how other people live. And I think that's been the best thing that I have been able to acquire going to school.
And if it wasn't for your great height, you might have been an astronaut. That was something you were interested in doing.
Oh, I would love to have been an astronaut. And, you know, I like I said, reading books, I get the opportunity to go into space. I get the opportunity to see what NASA is doing. And,
Sure.
you know, reading books and having books available, that makes all the difference in the world.
I agree with you, my friend. I will ask you the age-old question as I'm about to bring in Artis Gilmore and Gene Banks on screen. Kind of cool, 15 grand, 5-day trip to Greece for the person who wins this mega-sized tournament. Alex, you're here to win it all, my friend.
I'm here to win it all, and I haven't been back to Greece since Artis and I were there. I don't know how many years ago, but we were there, and we had a great time.
I love that. I want to see that. I can't wait to see that. Artis, let me bring you in here, my friend. Artis Gilmore, Gene Banks, here we go. We're all on screen. Love it. This is a great crew, guys. And again, they do so much for all of you without you even knowing it. These men take time out of their day to educate and do so in a classy way. And I love that. Artis Gilmore, Alex English, Gene Banks. I'm going to start with Alex English. I'll zip the old lip. I'll go backstage, but let me set up the question. Everyone has the same topic. And guys, as you know by now, to our audience who's watching, as you guys and gals and pals know by commenting, you're so very classy because you're not voting for somebody saying that they were better. Who resonates most with you? That's all it is. It's a nice thing. Who resonates most with you? The top 2 vote getters will move on to the next round. That's how it'll work. As you guys know, with 3 people, the top 2 vote getters will move on to the next round. Will it be a combination of Alex, Artis, and Gene? We'll find out. We'll start topic number 1 as I put it up here on screen. I'll kick it over to Alex, and let me set it up for all of you guys and gals and pals as well. Guys, this is topic number 1. I call it poetic purpose because one of the hardships of the current age is the ability to understand each other. Reading and writing poetry can give people the improved ability to understand others. It can create feelings of empathy to the human soul. It could connect us together with good feelings. Poetry and stories allow one to look into one's soul deeply, thereby teaching to love oneself. So once someone loves himself, he loves the entire human race. That's the goal. Alex, my friend, if you could select any song or poem to help inspire a historical figure, alive or deceased, during a downtime in their life, which poem or song would you select and why? Which historical figure would you choose to uplift and why? Please take your time, my friend. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours, good sir.
Well, Avi, you mentioned it in my introduction that I was an English major and a poet. And one of my favorite poets was Robert Frost. And one of my favorite poems is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. And I would, I relate this poem to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was in the Birmingham jail, and he had all of the people at that time, including the African Americans and all the people against him for what he was doing, helping with the protests in Montgomery. And he took the time and reflected on, you know, how important it was for him to be able to express the will and the necessities of people that weren't able to do it for themselves. And when he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail, you know, he was talking about civil rights and getting our government at that time to give everybody an equal opportunity, and that equal opportunity was to give us the right to vote. and the will and the time that he put, the effort and the time that he put into his platform. It reminds me of the road not taken, because if Dr. Martin Luther King had reflected on Robert Frost's poem and decided that he wanted to take another road, I'd like to read the poem. I'd like to read the poem and maybe break out a little bit of it.
Sure,
and
sure.
I'm not 18 years old anymore, so I've got to put these on like my friend Gene Banks. The words of the road not taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads that diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And I look at this poem and relay it to Dr. King's journey. If he had not had the people and the support during that era to lift him up and help him move the platform forward, then who knows what the world would be like. We know that his life affected not just African Americans, but all people in different countries as well, because he was about equal rights. Being able to have the right to vote for who is going to help run your country. And that is why I selected this poem and how I related to Dr. King. When you talk about the two words that diverged in a yellow wood, those two roads are about the roads of life. And he decided, he looked at the roads and decided that, one looked easier than the other, but then in retrospect, they both looked the same. And he had to make a choice. And the choice that he made took him down a road that he didn't regret. He went down that road, but he always wondered, what if he had taken the other road. But he took the road that allowed us as a country and people to live quality lives, the voting rights, equal rights, and all the different things that Dr. King stood for and all the things that he worked toward. Those are the things that were on that road that he took. He took a road that was difficult at times. It was a road that eventually ended up taking his life. But for him not taking that road, what would life be like? What would our lives be like? What would this country be like? And you have to look back on the life that he led, the things that he did, and appreciate, what he sacrificed. One of the other things that I have, just another one of his speeches, one of his quotes, and he was talking about civil rights and the laws. He was quoting him. He said, "The recent civil rights law would be meaningless unless it was translated into action by Negroes exercising their right to vote. The main purpose for the crusade for citizenship was to get Negroes throughout the South to exercise that right." Quoting Dr. King, "It was my firm conviction that if the Negro achieved the ballot throughout the South, many of the problems that we face would be solved. Once again, once we gained the ballot, we would see a new day in the South. I had come to see that one of the most decisive steps the Negro could take was the short step to the ballot box. And that in itself says all the things that, not all the things, but one of the most important things that Dr. King stood for: equal rights and the right to vote. And we have to be aware and cognizant of that road that he took, that if he hadn't taken that road, that ended up taking his livelihood, taking his life, taking him away from his family, but also making him a martyr and making him a symbol of freedom and equal rights. And it wasn't just about the right to vote. It was about treating people with dignity. And that's the poem that I feel reflects a lot of Dr. King's life, taking that road, putting himself in harm's way, putting his family in harm's way, but sacrificing all of that for the will and the good of the masses. And Dr. King was honored for that with the Dr. MLK Day. So that's the poem that I selected, and I am fine with it.
Thank you for sharing that. And you're right about what you said about Martin Luther King Jr. I get really ticked off when I realize how many people got away with so much. Men like Hoover, men like Robert Kennedy, who was Attorney General, who allowed Martin Luther King Jr. to get bugged. This man was bugged by our government for trying to make a difference. He was bugged by people that we trusted. People we're supposed to trust. We're supposed to look at government as our parents, as our fathers. And here was a man who was trying to make a change, and simply because he had the foresight to tell all of us that Vietnam was wrong, and that the front line of people who should be drafted shouldn't be those who are less desirable, people who come from low-income houses, people who are Hispanic and African-American who were sent to slaughter. For this man to actually give them their voice, a voice they never thought they had, to get bugged, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that most people don't even talk about that. And I have a problem with the fact that most people want to celebrate those. And, Robert Kennedy's the same guy who, by the way, was telling his brother John during the Cuban Missile Crisis, proceed forward. Proceed forward. Nick Namara was telling him that. RFK was telling Kennedy that. It's funny. The only two people that didn't want to attack each other were Khrushchev and John F. Kennedy. They were the only two people during the Cuban Missile Crisis who said, let's not attack each other. And if it wasn't for some unnamed Soviet submarine lieutenant who decided to back away, World War III would have been imminent. But it really stinks that when they noticed that Martin Luther King Jr. was gaining political power and had a voice, they executed him once, and then they executed him a second time. The first time they executed him was by making sure that they would take away this man's voice, and then he took away his life. And that really stinks, Alex.
I agree. And, now they're getting ready to release the full tapes, and who knows for what reason. And we shall see. But, Dr. King's life is a life of, just prominence. He was a nonviolent leader. He was a leader
Correct.
that said, we're not going to go with guns. We're going to go and use our bodies. We're going to give our bodies and let the dogs, but Bull Connor throw at us or send at us. We're going to let them bite us. We're going to let the policemen shoot the water hoses on us and beat us with their bats, but we're going to be nonviolent. I don't know if I could have lived that way. I don't know if I could have just taken the beating that they took and the things that were done to them and not battle back. So
100% agree with you. I really do.
And we celebrate his life and legacy today, and should every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not many people in history brought everyone together like Martin Luther King Jr. did. And guys and gals and pals, Alex English's poems, not many were related to basketball. But both dealt with free agency and his feelings when he left Milwaukee in '78, and he signed as a free agent with Indiana. One was called "It's Time to Go," and it reads, "Autumn's orange yellow and rust paints my mind with outdoor lust for freedom of movement about nature's room. But autumn's coming means I'll be leaving soon to continue my stroll with destination and add to memories this summer's vacation." It's a beautiful poem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I know Gene probably never read that, never heard that. Him and Artis.
And speaking of artists, guys, I'm going to ask artists the same question, and I'll go backstage. My friend, Mr. Gilmore, it is the same question I have for you. If you could select any song or poem to help inspire a historical figure, alive or deceased, during a downtime in their life, which poem or song would you select and why? And which historical figure would you choose to uplift and why? Whenever you're ready, my friend, the floor is yours.
Whoa, thank you, Avi. It's truly indeed a pleasure, and to listen to some of those thoughts that Alex shared was a very, very, very much intense and thoughtful. And my person would be Miss, God, their name, and not Anna Gamble Cook, but Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson, I mean, this lady, she would be the inspiration. And, again, Martin Luther King would be that image that I would absolutely look at and recognize because, as Alex spoke about it from a book and some of the things that he really read about, but I'm speaking about from an experience that I actually lived it. And I was actually a freshman in college when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And I remember that very fearful time. I was covered the entire nation. And this was, partially on the verge of segregation. And it spoke about Alex and his experience. Of course, Alex is what, 25, 30 years younger than I am. And but that was a time actually walking through this issue and experiencing what happened. The police driving through our neighborhood when I was a kid, escorting the Ku Klux Klan through, and they do fire bombs into our yard, and all of those things combined. And then suddenly, my freshman year at Gardner Webb and entering college with white students for the first time in my life, and I had never experienced anything except total separation. And so Martin Luther King was certainly an inspiration, and watching the things that happened to him and John Lewis, those images bring back memories, almost like it was a fantasy, something that did not happen, but actually witness it, and watching what Martin Luther King did. And you spoke about the tapes that all these recordings. Now they're talking about bringing them to the public and open these situations where we the citizens will, what are we going to find out? What are we going to know? But something that should have been shared with us many, many years ago.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me, my friend. That's it's great that you had. A lot of people know about Mahalia Jackson. She was raised, I think, in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken, and she overcame a lot in her life. And when you think again about Martin Luther King and how much he overcame, much like Alex Artis is selecting Martin Luther King Jr., You know, it's funny because he captivated people across the country in a way that we'd never seen before. When he actually became the leader of the Montgomery Improvement Association, I remember talking about this in my class. A lot of it had to do with what happened in Rosa Parks in '55. But the first thing he said was, I don't want to cause divide amongst people who think that I'm betraying them because I'm telling them to not protest violently. And he kind of was able to foresee that there'd be split groups and factions. My thing that I hate about today's culture is that the history is so suppressed that when you use the two words Black Panther, people get scared. They weren't a terrorist group. They had their own radio stations. They had their own media. They supported each other. They had their own businesses. I mean, it's incredible. Artists, I mean, even in your area in the Panhandle, when you were growing up, there were a lot of African-American businesses that ran independently. Am I right?
I mean, the city had none, except there was a couple down in the area where,
sure,
you know, if you needed something, areas that you had to go to this location to get your needs, fill your needs, whatever there were.
Sure.
So, because as you indicated, it was totally segregated. Stores, we could go downtown and find and maybe to pick up something very quickly and move back to your side of town.
Wow.
But the one thing was that, you know, when we had those stores in our communities, you know, we were supporting each other. You could go to a store where, you know, because African Americans own most of those little stores in their community. You would go to that store and you would learn stuff. You know, we would make our own wealthy people, not necessarily wealthy, but middle class, by supporting our stores. And once they took that away and they started putting these big giant stores around and moving them out of the community, then we kind of lost touch. The community lost touch with each other. And,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I think that, you know, integration was good and it was bad because we integrated and we left our neighborhoods. We left the support and you know, we left the people that the business people, the doctors and the doctors and the nurses that took care of us in our communities. We left them and went to these bigger organizations, and you know, the smaller mom and pop stores started falling and disappearing out the neighborhood. We got a lot of glue from going to those stores, those mom and pop stores. That's where everybody would go, and you know, you go see Miss Johnny May and Mr. Henry, and they said they talked to each other, and they said, "Yeah, I saw your boy down there. He was doing something that he wasn't supposed to be doing it." And Miss Johnny May gonna go back and say, "What? I heard you were doing." You know, we took care of our neighborhoods and we raised our kids, and we were strict on our kids. But when we started leaving the neighborhood and moving out of the city to the suburbs, that togetherness wasn't there as much. Gene probably had it a lot more because in the Philadelphia area, you probably had the communities were always there, you know. But when we integrated in the South and desegregated the schools, you know, we took away a lot of values that our elders were teaching us.
Do you think that Black-owned businesses were patronized because you weren't allowed to welcome in the front door of most white-owned businesses at the time?
A combination of both.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And to piggyback what Alex was saying, up here, Alex is in South Carolina, Artis was in Florida. I'm in South Philly. And we did it in our communities. We had a Black-owned guy named Mr. Ted had his store, and we patronized his store, and all the cleaners and things of that nature. So we had to, and part of that is also with the fact that we weren't able to. They didn't want us to take our clothes to white establishments. So what was with us is that we worked it out and navigated and kept our money within the community and the neighborhood is what you would see from the concepts of Tulsa and the things that they did there. We had those things, and like Alex says, the one thing that's interesting is that segregation, integration was a good and a bad thing. You know, it's really interesting. It was really good. So it's hard to really weigh that thing because of the experience, but on the same token, I mean, me at West Philadelphia High School when I was there in my junior high school, the main people that really pushed me more than anything else were the black teachers. You know,
right.
If it wasn't for Dr. William H. Detweiler, I wouldn't even thinking about Duke or anything else. It would have been out there. Mrs. Place, she was another black teacher there. And they took me, I wasn't like a great student. I just wanted to learn things. And they would tell me, oh, you got a B, but you should get an A. And I was like, I did it. And they really pushed me and they pushed me and they pushed me and they pushed me. And that's what's missing today for sure.
Wouldn't you agree that our government never allowed economic hotbeds potentially amongst the African-American community to thrive? They always put the kibosh on that. They always found a way to divide people. They brought in drugs. They brought in, I mean, if you think about the Reagan movement, this isn't, I don't think speaking the truth is controversial. Like, for instance, Reagan bombed Grenada in 1983 for no reason whatsoever. He did it because he wanted to make sure that the masses, all of us, believed in Americana again. Because obviously preceding that, there was Jimmy Carter who couldn't get the Iran deal done with Iran. And then prior to that, there was Gerald Ford. And he was essentially part of that sham of a Warren Commission. Prior to Gerald Ford, you had Richard Nixon, who, of course, people know about Watergate. We all know what he did. He brokered deals with China. Right. But Watergate was a thing. Prior to that, you have a guy like LBJ who doesn't want to run in 1968. MLK gets assassinated. RFK Jr. gets assassinated. And then you have LBJ giving up on his own country. There was no leadership. So the guy from 1968, Ronald Reagan, who ran for the first time, is now commander-in-chief. And all of a sudden, he gets to do whatever he wants to restore faith in America by making sure that he disguises terrorism in a way that was very covert. Would you guys agree with that? I mean, I think
it's the game. It's the game that has always been played for decades. It's a game that they play. Whether you want to say we're strategically getting a place for war, this and that, and the game continues on. The game stays like it is, just different players, and they modify it. So the one thing I've learned and understood about it, it's not for me to be a Democrat or Republican.
Right.
Picking a person that can be a great leadership, not so much to unite the country, but balancing the country, the economy, and also
balancing the country. I like that.
For sure. And also with we have people that are struggling. We have poverty situations, but we're throughout the world, we're considered the greatest nation ever. But we know who we are. We know what we've done, but there's goodness in us. Because we've been a mixture of so many nationalities. You know, we come here, even though we were brought here, but other people came here. But there's so many great, and that's the great thing that I'm experiencing now. I travel all over the world, China, and I love being able to sit and talk and eat and share with different nationalities. That fills my heart and my spirit. And that's been the great thing. And you learn some things, educational values of how they do things with education in Denmark and other places. Why don't we take some of those models and work it out for ourselves?
I love that. And guys and gals and pals, again, this is topic number one. Alex, can you hear us, Mr. English?
Alex, can hear you. I'm just recharging. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, we can't see you, but we can't hear you.
Yes, I'm just recharging my computer here. It was dying, so I'm like plugged in, and I had to move a little.
Sure, no problem. Absolutely, my friend, guys and gals. We'll get that camera on soon as Alex takes care of that. Not a problem. I do want to bring this up before I kick it over to Gene Banks for the end of this first topic. Gene, my friend, you're up next. But Artis, was it Dwight Daggett who coached Carver Hill High in I think it was neighboring Crestview? He followed you for 3 seasons, and a lot of rival coaches who watched you were impressed with your improvement year by year. Was that the case?
Carver Hill.
Right, because I think he was in Crestview, which wasn't far, right? Crestview was kind of near.
Crestview is right in the area too, about 25 miles from Chipley, and that's about 25, 30 miles.
He saw you doing this on Sunday. He saw you watching the programs on TV, and you'd watch Chamberlain. You kind of made a chart of all of his plays to follow his moves and find out how he works around the men who cover him. Is that right?
Well, I mean, back in those days, it would have been nice to have that kind of really aid available to you.
Sure.
But I remember just the talk and what this gentleman was able to do, what he was able to accomplish, and he and Bill Russell. And finally, when there was a televised game, it was always Boston Celtics in the 76ers. So, the one Sunday game of the week, and of course in black and white TV.
Sure.
Yes,
every now and then
I would.
They would throw the Lakers in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish got more love. I wish people today knew more about him. Was Hal Greer? What a great scorer he was.
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Yeah. The little head, the jump
shot at the foul line.
Jump shot at the foul line.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember. Harold was left-handed too, wasn't he?
I think Hal Greer was left-handed. I think so. But they had a great
maybe.
Dave Gamby, Lucius Jackson, Hal Greer, the original Kangaroo Kid, Billy Cunningham. Man, they were loaded back then.
I grew up during that time and being my dad taking me to the game and watching Luke Jackson and Hal Greer and Billy Cunningham.
Wow.
That was just amazing. I was in awe of watching those games, then watching the Baltimore Bullets. And they had Earl Monroe, who was from my neighborhood. The Pearl was there. So
Jack Marin played on those teams, right?
Jack Marin, I saw him, he had the birthmark on his right shoulder, and but he could shoot. So, and my dad was sitting up way up in it. That was the old Spectrum.
Sure.
So
that's incredible stuff, man. Wow. That's, I wish people also understood when people talk about how Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, when Wilt played in the East Coast, when people talk about the competition level back then, how about doubleheaders? How about sports science not being even a factor? And how about this? How about men like Alex English, Artis Gilmore, Gene Banks, and earlier Chamberlain and Russell having to play each other so many times? Chamberlain had to play Russell 15 times in the regular season, and vice versa. That's incredible. How you had to guard each other 15 times in the regular season.
And it was physical. Wow. So,
and one of the biggest things that happened to us, all three of us, when we came into the league, we might play 5 games in 6 days. We had back to back. And we'd have a day off, and then we'd have another back-to-back. So our bodies took a beating. We didn't fly like they fly now. We had to get on a plane, and they had a smoking section, and you had to deal with that. Yep. And everybody didn't get first class because they didn't have enough first class seats. So you got to admit those guys, our guys from our era.
You guys set the way. I mean, I wish some of the younger players respected men like Alex, Gene, and Artis. I'll kick it over to Gene right now. Alex, as soon as you're ready, my friend, I think there's one of these things where you click Start Cam, and your cam will be good. You probably see it here next to the mute icon and the settings icon. There's the cam icon. And then if you click Start Cam.
I'll be on while you're talking.
Absolutely. And guys, hey, how about this? 1983, I just thought about this. I want to talk about 40 years pretty soon about a Denver Nugget team that I'll bring up when Alex is on camera.
Wow.
But the 83 team, the Gene Banks, Artis Gilmore. I mean, if you think about this team, the San Antonio Spurs, that took it to that Laker team, they got swept by Moses. People didn't know what Fofo was. He didn't actually say he's going to sweep the teams, Fofo. He just meant that's what we need to do to win. We need to win 4 times against each team. But when you guys took it to LA in 83, it was a 6-game series. I think Johnny Moore was the point guard.
Johnny Moore was the point guard. That was an amazing time because
you guys were loaded.
And during the regular season, we beat them 4 out of 6 times.
Right. Yeah.
So there was no situation that we were afraid of them or worried about them. I loved playing against the Lakers and playing in LA. Who didn't? So I mean, that's a great trip.
And you matched up so well against them. You had Artis, who, by the way, people don't forget, even before the ABA, Artis matched up against Kareem before he actually made it to the NBA. You had Artis and Kareem. You had Gene Banks, guys and gals and pals, who was giving you double-doubles. You had Johnny Moore, who was one of the best assist men of all time, who could distribute the ball really well.
You guys led the league in assists that year.
Led the league in assists. Mike Mitchell and George Gervin. I mean, damn, you guys were absolutely loaded. And guys, 40 years, in a few months, it'll be a 40-year anniversary that a team featuring T.R. Dunn, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if Calvin Nat and the Fat Lever trade was done yet. Alex English, Dolph Shays, 85 Western Finals. They went into LA and took care of business against the Lakers in the conference finals. I think it was game 2. Amazing series. It was one of the first ones I ever watched, Alex. Awesome stuff.
Here's the thing.
That was
great, Alex.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, we had T.R. Dunn, we had Pat Lever, we had Wayne Cooper, God bless his soul. We had made the trade already, Calvin Nat, and the Lakers were, so dominant that year. We go in there, they beat us, they just whipped the snot out of us the first game. But the second game, we go in and we end up beating them by, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 points.
Yeah.
And we go back to them.
It was a great conference finals, guys, 40 years ago in a few months. Gene, my friend.
But let me. So
yes.
For us to get to the Lakers, we had to get. I'm not saying it was Alex on it. We had to get past the Denver Nuggets.
Oh.
And that was a grueling series. That was a grueling.
Yeah, I agree. That was an outstanding series. And I remember it came down to one shot in the corner. Well, Kiki Vandeweghe took that shot and missed. He was somehow they had passed it around and gotten to Kiki, and he was open. And luckily, it wasn't in Alex's hand.
Goodness.
Probably would have drained. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Skywalker still playing with Denver?
Who was
David
that?
Thompson? Was David Thompson still playing with Denver? I think.
No, not at that time. No.
83, because he went to Seattle for a year and then he retired.
Yeah,
but there was for a while. There was that.
They didn't need to have David on that team.
There was a three-headed monster for a while of Alex English, David Thompson, and Kiki Vandeweghe. For a while, that three-headed monster, man, you never knew who was going to score 30, 40 points on that team.
But they still had a three. They had Alex, Kiki, and Issel.
Dan Issel.
Yeah, he was a problem.
Old Man River,
yeah. Problem.
Who, by the way, that his last season.
Averaging over 20 points.
Yep.
3 guys with 20+ points a game. And you can't sleep on Kiki because Kiki led the league in scoring one year.
29.8. Yeah, and Dan Issel.
He's got 50 on me one night.
Did he really? He got 50? Dan Issel's final season was the.
Huh?
He got 50 on a few guys.
Well, that makes me feel so much better, Alex.
So did you, Alex. Don't be humble. So did you. Hey, guys, Dan Issel's final series was against that Laker team in 85. Then he retired right after that, 85. I'm going to ask Gene Banks the same question, my friend. This is topic number 1. If you had one opportunity to say something to a deceased person, no, that's topic 2. If you could select any song or poem to help inspire a historical figure, alive or deceased, during a downtime in their life, which poem or song would you select and why? Which historical figure would you choose to uplift and why? The floor is yours whenever you're ready to go, good sir.
This is a really touching question. And because I say that, because I know about the history and the concept of Alex's poetry. I've learned it. He was a great poet writer. Friends that he didn't know I knew talked about his poetry. But one person that was really instrumental was my late wife, Isabel Johnson Banks. She was a poet writer, and she wrote a manuscript for about at least 30 poems. We haven't gotten the thing published yet, but that's one of the goals. Even after she passed away in 1997, which has been 28 years now, her poetry writing was unbelievable and amazing. And my daughters, the 3 of us, we have her manuscript. And one of the things I promised to do is to get that thing published. And it's so powerful, some of the things. And one of her favorite poems was, "For Me, It's Love." And it talks about what's happening and portrays what was happening in society and so forth. And then her family was a big key. So I give credence and kudos to my wife, my late wife, Isabel Johnson Banks. And she was an awesome poetry. And once I get the manuscript published, Alex, I'm definitely going to send Alex English one because I know, and I want your stuff. Because she went through a period of time where she was in Greensboro, North Carolina, where she went to Dudley High School, and the integration and so forth came about, and she was picked on, which is interesting that people don't understand that blacks had their own little issues. We had light-skinned blacks and dark-skinned blacks had issues with each other. And she went through that. They called her Pocahontas and so forth. And I share that because that was the thing that really grabbed me to really respect and love her a great deal. So I don't have a poem with her because I've got the manuscript, but I'm going to get that manuscript going. But the one song that I would choose to talk would be for my friend Kirk Whalum. I know you guys know who Kirk Whalum is, and the song of it is called "God Must Have Spent a Little More Extra Time on Me." If you get a chance to listen to that today, it inspires me, and I've used that with even kids that like jazz. So that's the one. The one person I will look at that I would like to talk about in history: Martin Luther King, Malcolm, Medgar Evers, so many great people there, Rosa Parks. The one guy that I would talk about would be a guy named Julian Francis Abele. Now, who is that? Julian Francis Abele was the guy that designed Cameron Indoor Stadium. He was the guy that designed the Duke Chapel. He was the guy that designed the steps and parts of the Art Museum in Philadelphia, and he was an African American. He came from a group called the Tambora Group in Philadelphia. He graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, went to the Tambora Group, and I guess they contacted him after they designed and built the Palestra, which was the top place that was as far as stadiums were in the nation. And then they called him in their group, and they came down and they built Cameron Indoor Stadium, the famous Cameron Indoor Stadium, and also parts of Duke's West Campus. They have just now recognized him and named him West Campus after Julian Francis Abele. And I didn't even know, praying there, I didn't even know about all this history. You know, I'm going to the chapel and all this stuff, and they did not promote it or talk about it until the last 10 years. So learning all of that, I dug deeper into it to know what he went through during the segregated times of that. He had to navigate through all those things, especially where he went to a school that is now called Cheney University. So to read his story, it's amazing as an African American going through that time to be an architect and a designer and to get that position to be able to create and design something like. I would love to sit down and have that discussion of how he navigated through that. And that to me is just amazing to learn that. Well, I didn't even know that when I was going to school there. They weren't even promoting it. They weren't even talking about it. But just in the last 10 years, they've decided to do all this accolade and give the knowledge to what that is. So look him up, Julian Abele. It's an amazing story about him. He's the one guy, and he fought for a lot of things with civil rights and things of that. And he said, let my hands speak for me, and let me speak. And that's one of the most powerful things. But in saying that about the poems, like I say, I give respect and love, and I miss her very much. My late wife, Isabel, she left a legacy with me, and her poetry was awesome. And her poetry and Kirk Whalum put together just speaks volume to what it is about being proud to be an African American. But she loved everybody. She loved all people.
I want, if I can, I'd like to help you with that, and we could talk off air. I'd like to help you if we can with publishing houses or things of that nature. Pete Babcock and my friend Ken Dooley. Ken has been the World War II veteran. Ken has been writing a great Boston writer. He's during the days of Red Auerbach and Bill Russell. I'm helping him with one of his pieces of work, and I'd like to see if I can at least get some of that in the right hands, Gene, if I can. So
I would love that. That was the one thing that my daughters and I said that on her deathbed, that was one of the things, if I don't do anything else, that I had to have this be published. That would complete my life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Love to read it. Love to read it.
I promise you, Alex, I'll make sure you get one. I promise you. I mean, and Avi, an artist, you don't realize, I've had a lot of people talk about Alex's poetry. And I've read one, but everybody needs to read his poetry. I read one of his poetry from a friend that knew him that had it. And I was blown away. I wasn't blown away per se because that's the person who he is. I knew he had all kind of other talents, but it was just the fact that he had that kind of artistic of doing the poetry, and I commend him.
Well, I'm going to embarrass him right now if he doesn't mind. I'm going to embarrass Alex if he doesn't mind, because I think it's important to bring this up. He was, Alex, you were watching television one day, and there was something that really kind of disturbed you, as it would disturb anybody watching. You saw our TV news clip of the Ethiopian famine.
Yeah.
And you wrote a poem that titled, which I mentioned in your intro, Third World 2. And I want to read this because I won't do it justice. It's Alex's. But third world child, all skin and bone. Third world child needs a home. Third world bodies play host to disease. Third world mouths we must all feed. Third world conditions the worst on earth. Third world poverty begins at birth. Third world neglect must come to a halt. Third world deterioration, we're all at fault. Third world people must be given their chance. Third world people need our helping hand. Third world people are God's children too. So let's join hands with them and start anew. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh boy, that's incredible.
That's beautiful.
You know, Alex, Alex and I, we've talked many times. Yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much, Alex, you phoned Larry Fleischer, who was the general counsel of the NBA Association, Players Association. You pretty much said, we got to do something to help those people. And Larry said that's how this whole thing started. So at the NBA All-Star game in Indianapolis, the thoughtfulness, guys, of Alex English was translated into $100,000 for the Ethiopian victims. And each All-Star agreed to donate his share. $2,500 by each member of the winning team, $1,500 by the losing team, and in addition to that, $48,000 by David Stern was pledged that the NBA will add the remainder of the $100,000 contribution to the Interaction Ethiopian Fund, which coordinated food donations from 23 organizations. And when the playoffs ended, Alex was invited by a Denver television channel to go to Ethiopia with a camera crew. He wanted to do that just to check out the impact that you've done. But it all started because you watched something that hit close to heart, Alex.
Yeah, yes, it did. And, you know, it was one of those times when we were around the table and, you know, with my kids, my wife and kids, and we were eating our dinner and, you know, this big TV flash come on and talks about this, you know, the war, first the war in Ethiopia, and then, you know, the starving kids, which we all have seen pictures of. And, you know, I want to just commend some of the stars that were part of those all-star teams that said, when we asked, they said, okay. You know, that was Larry Bird, that was Magic, that was Kareem, that was Bernard. You know, all those guys in that era that played. Artis, were you on the team as well?
Yes.
You know, they all said yes. And for us to be able to raise that money and feed those folks, it was just it was tremendous. I didn't get a chance to go because they had meetings. The OPEC had meetings in Addis Ababa, and you know they didn't feel that it was safe, so I didn't go. But I love that. I was always looking to get. You know, and I'm probably I'm going to put that on pause. I'm listening, but I have to power up some more. But I am here.
No problem, guys. What Alex won't tell you is that when he was a youngster, he had to live on one meal a day a lot of times. One meal a day when he was younger, as did Artis, so many great players. That's my objective with the show, just to let you guys know, is beyond the pomp and circumstance, beyond the hype, beyond the festivities that we have and the rhymes and the videos. I want you guys to know that I'm always going to support you and show the world that there's more to the professional athlete or more to the actor than meets the eye. You guys should not be placed in a box. You shouldn't be scrutinized. You shouldn't be put under a microscope. You got the same problems we do, but yet you use your celebrity, and instead of celebrating the celebrity, we celebrate the celebrity that has a platform and does something with it. And that's what you three gentlemen do. So I want you to know, as someone who's been in this industry 21 years and has worked with the best, I want to make sure I give you my best and serve you, because you guys have done a lot for a lot of people.
Well, thank you. And I want to say this about Artis Gilmore. Alex was talking about the thing, what they did with giving the money for the Ethiopian situation. Artis Gilmore back in 1984, 85, he put together a golf classic.
Right.
And brought in Roundtree and a lot of artists and stars. And I have to commend Artis for putting that whole thing together. It was in San Antonio. And I still remember to this very day, there was a beautiful, huge portrait that I have on my wall. And raising money and raise a ton of good amount of money, and I wanted to commend Artis, so his consciousness was there as well.
Absolutely.
Well, Gino, that's very thoughtful. I do remember that it was one of the kind of most frightening thing about it, we had worked so hard and had so many people involved and put so much time together and then all of a sudden that morning it poured down rain.
Yes, it did.
And I closed one eye and I said, "Oh Lord." But then the prayers was answered. It turned into just a beautiful spot, open, and we were able to host the event and celebrate. And then at the end, the skies closed up and poured down again. But
Wow.
that event was very successful, and we had some of the biggest celebrities and stars, and Julius Erving was my one of my celebrities there.
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones. You name the individual.
Artis, you didn't invite me.
Oh, and we invited Alex, and Alex turned out. He turns down all of our invitations.
Well, Artis, is that because you thought Alex wouldn't accept it after what you guys did to him in '83?
You know, that may have had something to do with it. She was talking about the dog in me.
Well, you know,
that was just a musical jam, but we played it, and it gave us energy to go out and get it down on the court.
And you know what else you did that was very selfless? I want our viewers to know this. Artis, guys and gals and pals, Artis was doing something as a kid, as a teenager, to help lighten the financial load on his parents. He moved in with family friends in Dothan, Alabama, while playing basketball for Carver High. He did this because he didn't want to give his parents more financial burden. He did that for them, and that's a selfless thing, right, Artis?
Absolutely. And, you know, I come to that as a tremendous thoughtful of me. But even more so was the individual, the family that accepted me and was able to support me for that 1 year in Dothan. And my stepbrother, my adopted brother, Joe Brookins, you know, he ended up becoming my best man at my wedding. And after 52 years, looking at 53, that's a favorite number of mine, number 53. So that number's coming up. But Dothan was part of that struggle in the family.
Sure.
And you mentioned Alex so many times going without a meal, and I think about that, and I share those times with my kids, and you know, but there is no for
man. When I came to this country as a kid, we were so broke, and we were so poor that we couldn't even afford the extra O in the word poor. I mean, the one O was gone because we were poor, as you can imagine. And I bring that up.
Where did you come from?
I was born in Israel.
Okay.
Oh my God! Yep.
And I know Gene Banks played
4 years.
Oh, you guys would love it. You guys would love it. The people are great. Gene knows that. Gene's played. He was one of the legends over there. I want to bring this up because when I came here, I had nothing. My dad had nothing. My mom had nothing. We all slept on a mattress together in Queens, New York. That's where we were raised, in Queens, sunny side Queens, and we had nothing but each other. And the cool thing about growing up in a melting pot was, for anybody that says they don't see color, that's a lie. But what I can say is, I went to an all-black school, and my friends from junior high all the way to college, I was the minority. And I say that because I wouldn't have it any other way, because nobody gave a damn about my color. Nobody made me feel different. Nobody made me feel like I was the minority. Now, don't get me wrong. If I started on my basketball team, there would have been a problem because I was awful. But I rode the bench, I rode the pine. But the point is that I wish people that didn't grow up in a melting pot allowed themselves to understand that someone like me could walk down the street and never know what it's like to walk down the street, the same street that an Alex English or a Gene Banks or an Artis Gilmore could walk down and get looks from people just because of the color of their skin. I can never understand that because it never happened to me. But what I can do is be compassionate about it. And I wish people understood that, because to be ostracized for how you look, regardless of what you stand for, is the worst sin in the world. And yet here we are, sinning and sinning and sinning away. Putting people in blocks is because of something so stupid as color. Something so mindless and trite as color. It's insane. And, you know, I had a conversation with one of my old professors. I don't know if you guys are fans of Langston Hughes' work. I am. I love Langston Hughes.
Yes.
And we were talking about Langston Hughes. And we were talking about how I mentioned to him that there's only one group of people that were forcefully taken from their homeland and brought over here.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Ellis Island for the African American.
No.
There was no doing this by choice. They were forced to come to this country. So when everyone talks about why we shouldn't be sympathetic towards the African American plight as it pertains to reparations or anything else, maybe people should understand that the African American came here against their will. And that's the truth. And maybe I'm a bit of big mouth talking about this and it got me in trouble as a history teacher, but I do think that we should talk about things like this without fearing any sort of repercussion, because the truth isn't a bad thing, especially when it's portrayed in such a way, especially when you can have a living room conversation with someone.
Avi. I wish we could have that discussion everywhere where we try to eliminate the color part and we talk about the human beings and there are so many contributions that and all people of all colors have contributed to the greatness of this country.
Yeah.
But African Americans were the ones who this country, their bodies were the ones that were in the fields that were taking care of the kids and building the houses, and we did it. We've learned from it, but there's what makes this country great. It's not just one race of people. I mean, you look at the Hispanic Americans, the Asian Americans, and all the contributions that they've made. That the Japanese helped build the railroads, and half of our country was taken from. They've contributed. So, and then the American Indian, we have a great country, but this great country is made up of a lot of little pieces that make it great.
You are so right, my friend. I wish we didn't celebrate our political figures like we do celebrate our sports teams. I wish. Alex, I think we can actually still hear you, my friend. We did lose your camera, so as soon as you're ready, my friend, if you want to hit start cam, we're going to go to topic number 2.
Okay.
And we will be able to see you. Guys and gals, bear with us.
While he's doing that, I want to elaborate. I did live over in Israel for 4 years, and I loved it. It was the greatest experience I've had in all the countries I played. I played in France. I played in Italy.
Right.
But to have the relationship where my mother was a Sunday school teacher, and all these places like the Masada and the Dead Sea and Brunel, to be able to go there and live there and spend time breaking bread with Israeli brethren, because we are basically we're Semites, totally we're Semites, and we're all connected. When you really do your history, I got my degree in history at Duke,
right? So
we're all in that connection, and you got to keep it simple. The powers that be want to keep chaos and so forth, but take the time and learn all these things, listen, and like we were talking, Alex was saying, you got to have discussions and town concepts, especially even in the Black community now. They need to have we got all these churches, of 100 churches in the community, and they seem not to work together. It still boggles my mind that, on the east side of Greensboro, North Carolina, you have maybe like 80-something churches, but they all have their own select group.
The powers that be don't want that. They don't want unity. You're right. I mean, look, as before we move on to topic number 2, I had this conversation the other day with my friend. Prescott Bush touted Richard Nixon when Nixon was 19. He wanted to pair him up with Eisenhower because Eisenhower didn't want to run for office. Eisenhower didn't want to become president. So they stuck Nixon, who was a true blue politician, with Eisenhower. They couldn't stand each other. On the communist ticket, Richard Nixon in 1960 against John F. Kennedy was assumed and proclaimed the winner for those who heard their debates on radio. Those who watched it saw a very cool and composed Kennedy win those debates. That's the dividing line. How right now, regardless of whether you're black or white, the politics of politicking are different, because back then, all you had to do was listen to what the policies stood for. Now, the popularity game has taken on full effect. It may not have shaped itself in quite a way in 1960 in those televised debates. It wasn't the first one. Adlai Stevenson had one in 56 that was televised.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1960, that was the dividing line. People who listened on the radio thought Nixon won. People who watched it on TV thought Kennedy won. And from that point, pomp and circumstance was a big part of the political agenda. And it really stinks that there's less substance right now. And we're not hearing a lot of policies. All we're hearing are a bunch of sound bites because the powers that be think we're so dumb that's all we want to digest. That all we can handle are sound bites instead of the truth. It stinks.
It's the game.
Yeah. Guys and gals, this is Alex English, Gene Banks, and Artis Gilmore. They are gentlemen. They are scholars. And right now, before we kick it over to topic number 2, this is a 60-second video of all of those that were a part of this tournament that we lost. Trio of options for Gallagher, more underrated than why. Sauerkraut, Henry Kissinger's deep, soothing voice, or dogs wearing sweaters.
I like dogs wearing sweaters.
Do you have fun?
Yeah, I haven't done an interview in 20 years.
Mr. Sizemore, first name Tom. How are you, my friend? I could turn the volume lower if you'd like next time. If you'd like me to do that, Tom, I could do that.
Wow, that was something else. I don't know what I can do now.
Oh, please.
That was terrific, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And you know what? As charming as a guy that you are, man, and as honest as a guy as you are, and as down-to-earth as a guy as you are, you played a character that isn't so down-to-earth named Scrooge in college. You played Scrooge. And, of course, I feel like a thespian should rely on their instinct. Do you feel like you rely on your instinct a lot as a storyteller as well?
I mean, playing Scrooge at that young an age was, when I think about it now, I only way I could have done it is I was relying on my instincts. You know, I could have done it the other way. Okay.
More underrated than why? Unicycles, Italian men named Skippy, or sophisticated dinosaurs?
What? More sophisticated dinosaurs?
Yeah,
I want to say the sentence. Italian men named Skippy. I just want to say.
Yes. Yeah. Italian men named Skippy.
I just want to say the sentence. Italian men named Skippy.
Yeah, something you'll ever hear. Yeah. Did you have fun? Did you have a nice time?
I had a great time. It was ball.
Yeah, man.
I want to do it again. This is great. I just think it's going to be, a lot of fun for people. I don't think people like this on the air. I don't think really. No, there isn't. I just think it's going to be I'm very interested in how people respond to it, because I know it's going to be interesting and see if people tune in and stay tuned in, and I really hope they do. And I'm all yours, bro. Let's go out and make this work. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.
Wow. I teach a workshop, and one of my students finally said about my class about iambic pentameter. He finally said, "I got it, and he was excited. And it was both his elation and those 3 words that make it worthwhile, right?
Amen. You got it. But I think I've got to have equally passionate people involved in the production of it. That passion will override any reservations anybody has as to the show's potential for entertainment or education.
Did you feel as if transitioning to the stage and performing live theater was a natural fit for you?
Yes, I did. I always felt very comfortable on stage, more so on stage than I did in film or television. So I'm looking forward to you, Avi, giving me your thoughts and your input, because as I told you, that piece that you sent me is, I love good writing, and I think
Thank you, sir.
My career, and this is a beautiful piece of writing, as I said. I'm referring to the piece that you wrote me. You're onto something because you're a writer. You're a creative force, and I want to hook up.
Thank you so much for those kind words, guys. Thank you for being you, my friend. I appreciate you and respect you wholeheartedly.
And that goes double for me to you, Avi. Wow.
My dad would have loved being here right now. I feel like he still is. I know that sounds sappy. I'd rather be sappy than cynical, but I lost my dad a couple of months ago, and I know this sounds simple, but The coolest time I had as a kid wasn't anything that's crazy. It's not a crazy story. It was simply sitting down on the floor, watching basketball with my dad.
Express my condolences to you. Absolutely. I know what it is to lose family members, and we all have, as Gene expressed, losing his wife Belle, and you know, of course, I know Belle personally. You know, she was really connected with all of us. I mean, myself and my family.
Sure.
So, wanted to express my condolences to you.
And Avi also an artist. Artist lost his daughter, as you all know.
Yeah. Did she play for LSU, Artis?
Yes. In fact, at one time, she and I was a first father-daughter combination to play in the final four.
Oh my gosh, that is
play
incredible.
for a national championship. She played for LSU a Tech, and I played for Jacksonville University.
You know, 44 years is too young, and I know that Priya, just like my dad, I know that they're watching this because what you stand for is something that's positive, and I've learned to take in some of the things I thought I used to be cynical, and like I really do feel his presence. I know you feel her presence, and Gene, I know you feel your wife's presence that we mentioned, and Alex, those that you've lost as well that means something to you. I think the best way to carry their legacy is to speak their name. I know that sounds simple, but speaking their name. So, Gene, can you please mention her name again?
Isabel Johnson Banks.
Isabel Johnson Banks. Artist, Priya?
Priya Doreen Gilmore Matthews.
Alex, anyone in particular?
Wayne Artis Cooper.
Wow.
7 foot tall center for the Blazers and Nuggets, right?
That's right.
Yeah. From New Orleans as well.
Wow. Incredible. Guys and gals and pals, we're right down to our last topic. That's it. I'm going to start with Alex first, and then, of course, we'll rotate it out. Mr. English, my friend, if you had one opportunity to say something to a deceased person that you disagreed with on something specific, what would you say and why to that person regarding the disagreement that you once had? Whenever you're ready to go, the floor is yours, good sir.
Wow.
Well, I'll go back to my junior high school days, and I was in the 8th grade, and I had a white coach by the name of Keith Crow, and that's where I got my basketball start. I was 6'1", long, lanky, kind of awkward, and I got to play for him for 1 year. But he felt like I was not a good basketball player and thought that I would never be a good basketball player. So I sat on the bench, and I got to play 1 minute that whole year. That was my 8th grade year. And between my 8th and 9th grade years, I got an opportunity to go to a different school. And between those 2 years, I grew about 4 inches. I'm about 6'5". I used the fuel of him telling me that I would probably never be a good basketball player. I used that as fuel and started working on my basketball game. I worked on, strengthening my body. I mean, I was long and lanky, and I was so awkward they used to call me Flick. After that, I was kind of afflicted, in my movement. And I used that as fire for me. I worked on my game that summer. I got to my high school the next year, and I started as a JV player. And at the end of the year, I got moved up to the varsity. And with the varsity, we went to the state championship twice. And I became a better player. I was 6'5", 6'6" in high school. They use you as a center. But I worked on the different parts of my game. And I kept getting beat in the state championship by this team from upper state of South Carolina. And they had a guy by the name of Clyde Mays, who played in Milwaukee, big guy. And he kept blocking my shot. He kept making me look like a fool. I mean, I could score on everybody else, but I couldn't score on him. He kept blocking my shot, and I would shoot it from here. And I said, this can't be. I got to change. So when the season was over, I went to the gym at the high school, and my principal at the high school, his name was Dr. Whittingham, and he always smoked a pipe. And he came in, he saw me in practicing one day, and he had this pipe in his hand. Didn't say a word. He just looked at me. I'm like working on my game, just thinking I'm doing something. And he had seen the finals and saw that I had my shot blocked. And he said, "Son, I know what you need to do." With smoking from his pipe, he said, "You need to change the arc of your shot." And I thought about that. I said, okay, how do I do that? So I started working on trying to change my shot. And what I would do is I would jump as high as I could, stretch out as much as I could, and release my shot at the top of the jump shot. And I just worked on that, and that's all I worked on. And then I started working on some other things, and my shot got better. I worked on trying to get fluent with it, get consistent with it, and got a scholarship to go play at the University of South Carolina, and started working on that shot, and worked on it, and worked on it. And I changed my body by lifting weights and doing all the things that I could do, and got drafted by Milwaukee, went to Milwaukee, and I played with Milwaukee that my first year there. The same guy from South Carolina who had been blocking my shot was on my team in Milwaukee, Clyde May. And while we were there, we became great friends. We were great friends, still are. And they had to cut somebody that first year, and I was the guy that stayed, and he was the guy that got cut. So that was an accomplishment for me. But the other thing was him telling me that I, couldn't be a good basketball player was like putting stacks of logs on the fire, because I was determined that I was going to be a good basketball player, and whatever I needed to do, I was going to do that. So I worked on improving my game, and it also improved my perspective on life and how I deal with life, and not letting anybody tell me, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. And from that instant, that 8th grade instant that he gave me when he told me I wouldn't be a good basketball player, I went and became an All-American in high school. Went to South Carolina, became an All-American 2 years. Got drafted by Milwaukee, made the team, beating out my old friend. And from then on, I kept getting better and better, and ended up with all the different things that you've already mentioned, being a successful basketball player and a Hall of Famer like Artis Gilmore, all because he did that one thing. And that one thing made me change my jump shot. And my jump shot became the one thing that made me different as a player, that made me exceptional as a player, because it was unusual, and not many people shot a shot like that. But that, even though I was skinny and awkward and afflicted, like they said, I wish I could tell him that. He ended up dying a few years later. But that's the one person that I look back on, and I want to thank him, because he was like one of those 3-hour burning logs that you keep putting them on and you just keep burning. And he made me change my perspective as a player and as a person. So that's the one person that I would love to be able to.
Yeah. We learned a lot about him right now through you, Alex. Alex, I have to ask you a quick question if you're okay with that. I need to know this. You guys already down there, Gene and Artis. Did Artis ever block your shot?
Sure.
Because that was that high arcing shot. I can't see anybody blocking this thing. That's all.
He never blocked mine because I was on his team.
I mean, there's only 3 people that block more shots than Artis. Right.
He never blocked mine. I was on his team. So.
He probably did block my shot. It wasn't easy.
Well, that was one thing I was always
trying. I did was I made sure.
Right. Well, I mean, Artis, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, just trying to make sure that they acknowledge the fact I was on the floor and playing, especially there for defense, and that was a really a great phase of the game that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I listened to English and Alex and his story, and the way he was motivated to do the decisions that he made to help develop and motivate him and move him forward in life as well as the game. Of basketball.
And you use the word help, Alex. Whenever you would call your mom, you'd ask her how she was doing, and then she'd say she's fine. Then she would ask you how you're doing. You would say, there are a lot of poor people in this world. You're always thinking about others, Alex. That's you.
Well, that's what I came from. I was one of those people.
That's you, man. That's you. And that's what Alex English and Artis and Gene are doing, guys, giving it back. And right now, guys, I'll give it right back to Artis Gilmore. I wasn't a point guard. I was a shooting guard, so I may fumble and turn the ball over. But I'm going to give it right over to Artis Gilmore right now with that same question for this same topic. Topic number 2. My friend Artis, if you had one opportunity to say something to a deceased person that you disagree with on something specific, what would you say and why to that person regarding the disagreement that you once had? Whenever you are ready, the floor is yours, good sir.
Well, I tell you, Cole, it would probably be my dad. My dad's. He used the terms. He said, "You're not worth using the words, the magical words," and he said those things more than a couple of times to me, and but I was determined. I mean, growing up in a large family. And experiencing all those things that, Alex is, of course, Gene was a rich guy. He lived in Philadelphia and all the, Wilt Chamberlain, all those guys took care of him. But he was just a young kid. But anyways, when I was a young kid growing up in the house with so many brothers, and I had 2 sisters too, but they was too young, and I was one of the older boys, and you weren't running around and you no food. We were talking about monies that the individual would have at that time. You could get a meal in the dining room for a dime, and a carton of milk, a little small carton of milk, cost 2 cents. And then the price went up on everything. To eat in the dining room cost 12 cents, and to have a carton of milk cost 3 cents, and that was nothing in our budget. And with my dad out drinking, so all those things, and the words those mighty words that he used, that you're not worth it, but. He watched me develop and move forward, and before, he was able to see his last grandson and any of his grandkids. He passed away in 1993 at 93. So there's some things, and I mean, there's always a number of people that you like to share some thoughts like that with, and tell them about the fact what they dared and said that you would not be able to accomplish. I'll actually come to reality.
That's beautiful. And your dad, Otis, was a fisherman, right, Artis?
My dad was a fisherman, and if he didn't catch fish, we didn't eat. So Whenever days that he had an opportunity to catch up with one of his other colleagues, and he give him about $1, and they bring him along with whatever. I mean, he bring his equipment. You know, back then, I don't think there was a limit of how many fish would be able to bring home.
Sure.
And my father would bring home at least a half of a bucket of fish, and he would use those fish we clean a portion of them.
Sure.
And there was no refrigerator or anything like that. You had what I would call an ice box, and our ice box weren't very good, but you know, that's all we had to use
And they
during
were
that time.
And they were your heroes, your mom and your dad.
Well, absolutely. My mother and my father was the image. You know, I said I was upset with my father about some things I wanted to prove differently to him.
Sure.
Show him differently. You know what I mean? But he was the image and the person that made me. And so, other than the good Lord, the image of what I am today.
You know what? I think that he's so proud of you because the way you carry yourself with dignity and honesty, and the way you speak of him, you could see how much you revere him. I took to writing a screenplay yesterday. It won't be sent to Universal, about my dad. It's called Fathers and Sons. And I'm writing a character that gets a chance to tell his father the things I never got a chance to tell my dad. And it's very therapeutic for me, I guess is the word. I feel like I can release that way, in that way. Guys and gals and pals. And by the way, your father, if I'm not mistaken, so Maddie was about 6'2", your dad was about 5'7", Artis?
That's absolutely 5. He was close to 5'8", because my wife now, Enola Gay, is 5'10", 5'9".
Wow, yeah.
5'9".
Guys and gals and pals, Alex English, Artis Gilmore, and right now, Mr. Gene Banks. Final topic, final participant. If you had one opportunity, Gene, to say something to a deceased person that you disagreed with on something specific, what would you say and why to that person regarding the disagreement that you once had? The floor is yours whenever you're ready to go, good sir.
The person's name is Clifford G. Clark, and he was my idol. He was my heart. He was my grandfather. And story about my grandfather, when we were going through certain things, we were living in South Philly before we moved to West Philly. And things were really hard. I mean, talk about certain things where when you came and you opened your refrigerator and what you had in there, maybe a thing of mayonnaise and some bread. So we were innovative and we made mayonnaise sandwiches. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Then my aunt would come with some tomatoes and we would cut the tomatoes. We had no mayonnaise, so we had tomato sandwiches. So our biggest joy was being able to go to the store and get them powdered donuts, them cheap old powdered donuts. So we all had our trials and tribulations. You know, stories are amazing. You know, you hear Alex's story, which is amazing, an artist's story as well, and I have mine as well. But my grandfather was that one that he left for Mobile, Alabama. Him and his brothers, they had to leave from Mobile, Alabama, because they got involved with a fight with a white man. Usually people down in Mobile, Alabama, you know, blacks couldn't really look them in the face. And you definitely couldn't speak a certain way. And I've learned a lot of this through my years from my cousins now that one of them is still alive. And my grandfather just wasn't having it this one time, and they got into a fight. And by the time they got home, my great-grandmother and great-grandfather already had a brown paper bag with food in it and their clothes packed. And they put them on a train to go up from Mobile, Alabama, all the way up to Uniontown, Pennsylvania. So they had to go up there to escape a possible lynching, or so to speak. And they knew some family people up there who migrated, and his brother went up there as well. So they were in Uniontown, which is not far from Chambersburg and Gettysburg, which is interesting. My grandfather decided to be up there, and they found work in a coal mine. And that's what they were shoveling coal. My grandfather didn't like doing that. So I got some of that from him. So he decided to take up an apprentice to go to West Virginia, which now in the school is called Fairmont University. but there was a thing where blacks could go there to a school, a little carpentry school, to learn to be a carpenter or masonry. And he got his certification, and I was going through the time where Reconstruction came about, and Philadelphia needed a lot of carpenters. And so that's what happened when he decided, once he got his certification, he moved over to Philadelphia, and my dad was born in West Virginia. I always thought my dad was born in Philly. And so I tried to get him to go to Canada to get his passport about 15 years ago. And he told me, no, I was born in West Virginia. And I've been to West Virginia. Ain't too many black folks up in West Virginia. So I said, Dad, how you? So the thing that I'm saying about my grandfather, and the other thing too, before I go forward, my number 20 is major, because my grandfather played a little bit in the Negro League. Dad, he wasn't no great star, no great player. But I went down in the basement when I stayed with him on weekends, and I looked through, he had these big old trunks, and I opened the trunk up, and there was they wore wool jerseys, them wool itchy jerseys they had back in the day in the sun. And it was pulled out, it was number 20. And we talked about it, but ever since that day when I saw that, I had to been I probably was in 7th grade, 7th, 8th grade. From that day forth, I took that number 20, and that became mine because of my grandfather. And I've had that number all throughout my career in honor of him. So that's it. The thing I want to say that I would love to say to him and talk with him about, when I made my decision to go to Duke, I go down and I talked to him, and I was sharing it with him and telling him, and he said to me, he said, if you leave from here, he's older now, he said, I will probably die. And that hurt. I didn't take it serious. I said, oh, Graham, nothing will happen to you. You are strong. But he said, I'll probably die from here if you leave me. And that was a difficult situation for me. People didn't even know that. And I hugged him and all that, and didn't take that serious, because Grandpa was he was settled in, and my grandmother was there too, and they were okay. But I never thought about it, but he never got a chance to really see me achieve what I did at Duke. And he was always saying, those white folks down, be careful, watch how you walk, watch how you do things, because, it's a different kind of era down there than black folks and white folks up here. White folks in the North will let you know, they hide it. Down there, they'll let you know to keep yourself in your place. So the thing that saddened to me that he didn't get a chance to actually see all of that and be a part of that, because it was really me carrying him with me. And that's a deep part of that story, because he was my hero. My dad was a good man. My dad and mom, they had separated. They were going through a time. We lived in Bartram Village. It was the projects way back when I was probably about 4 or 5. And out in this project, there was a basketball court. And we used to see Wilt Chamberlain, John Chaney, names like Hal Greer. They would play on this court. My dad just got back from the Air Force. He couldn't get a job. He was having a tough time finding a job. And all he wanted to do was play basketball and play checkers. That's what those old guys did. And I asked my mom one time, I said, Mom, why did y'all break up? Why did y'all split up? And my mom said, I told him to leave because he was sitting around not doing what he was supposed to do. But they maintained a good relationship, friendship for the years too. But then my grandfather stepped in. So you always got to have some type of male that's there, that you can have that. But like I said, I'll end it with that, saying that that'll be the one person I would love to come back and talk, because he knows all the history. I'm still trying to gather more of our history, of our past. And I'm getting bits and pieces here and there, but he's the one person, Clifford G. Clark, who I admire so much.
And now we get to know your journey, and that's beautiful. Like, you got a chance to take your paintbrush and illustrate your thoughts about someone that meant something to you. And now we know about your journey through that. So thank you. That means a lot.
And Avi, the thing is, I'm playing against Alex, and out there, and you don't even know where he came from. We're in pros, we're playing. I know he's a special kind of guy, a special player, but it's amazing if I had a chance to break bread with him and learn, because that's what I do now, a lot of. I love hearing these stories.
Me too.
You have no idea how that would fill my spirit. And then I was able to do that with Artis, being able to feel when he was in Chipley and talk about all the things that happened when he grew up, not having this and that. I was able to have a deeper admiration and love for Artis because of that, not because of his basketball, but because of that. Now that I hear about Alex, that I always admire him, but that takes it to another level. Really
That's kind of why I know it's hard to understand when you see the topics in an email, but that's why I conceive them the way that I do, because it's through these topics that we get to find out about the person behind the persona. And I think there's nothing that's a waste of time when we allow ourselves to be mindful and present at the moment. And I love this moment. I love being able to listen to you guys and absorb everything at the moment in real time.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something that's bugging me a little bit. And maybe you guys, a little moment of levity here, maybe there's something you guys can figure out for me. Why is the last 10% of a tub of toothpaste, why does it last as long as the first 90%? Why do we have to squeeze that last 10? Why can't we just let it, why do we just let it, last 10% needs to go? Why can't we just dump, why do we have to squeeze that last 10% of toothpaste? I never understood that.
Well, I feel like, all of a sudden, well, I need to get my every dime nickel's worth of this toothpaste. So that's the reason those last little bits that it means the most.
It does. I dated someone. She was a lovely gal, but she rationed her toothpaste. That last 10%, I would tell her, baby, just squeeze it out. Squeeze it out. I don't know, man. A lot of funny stuff here. Guys and gals, such some funny. This is what a writer does. We come up with, how about this? Have you guys ever allowed something to sit in a microwave for 2 minutes without losing your mind? I can't wait 2 minutes. Can you wait the full 2 minutes, Artis?
Not at all. Absolutely. As soon as it gets started, you just think that minute or two, whatever you needed to get hot, instead of those full, complete 2 minutes. No.
It's the most ignored instruction among microwave users. Let's sit for 2 minutes. I'm never going to let it sit for 2 minutes, ever. And sometimes we have so much to do, but I find myself having nothing to do when I'm waiting for it for 2 minutes to warm up. So I'm just pacing around the kitchen, looking at myself like, well, why am I doing this? I'm just pacing around, waiting like a 5-year-old kid, waiting for this thing to warm up. And finally, at the 1 minute 56 mark, 1 minute 56. I can't wait even. I wait for the 1 minute 56 second mark. Gene, I have to pull it out. I have no self-control. None.
We got to give you something to do for those 2 minutes. That's for sure.
It's something I got to do. But guys, what I want to do right now is thank you. Hey, our viewers are going to vote. 2 out of 3 of these fine gentlemen will move on to the next round. What I want to do is play a 60-second tribute video that I cooked up for Alex, for Gene, and Artis. A little trip down memory lane. I think you guys will like this. I'm going to start off with Alex. Alex, we'll keep you on camera right now. And then Gene and Artis. I'm going to put you guys in the back for 1 second. But Gene and Artis, anything you'd like to tell Alex?
Listen, I hope that video, they ain't got Alex busting my behind out there. I want to see it.
Well, Alex, you know our relationship and what we have. So if we don't have a chance to speak a little bit later on, it's big brother, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later down the road.
Yeah, Avi, I wanted to say that I've learned a little bit more about Alex.
Yeah.
I've always heard what type of person he was and his giving, but I learned a little bit more, and that has filled my spirit. That has filled my spirit.
I love that. Same. I love that. Artis and Gene, hang out backstage for 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. You can watch this video if you'd like. And then I'll pull up Artis' tribute video and Gene's. Guys and gals, this is Alex English right now. Alex, my friend, are you able to hear me, good sir?
I can hear you.
And can you see me, my friend?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Are you able to see me?
Yes.
Perfect, my friend. This is from me to you. friend, I hope that meant something to you because you mean a lot to a lot of people. I can't hear you, my friend. I'm going to try to see if I can raise your volume because I can't hear you. I'm sorry, Alex. Oh my gosh, I can't hear you, my friend. Would you want to refresh? Maybe just reload. That usually will work. Yeah, we can just reload the page. Or if you want to sign back out and in, no problem. The great Alex English, guys and gals and pals. I got something for artists and something for Gene because that's what these men do. Again, they inspire. And I am really inspired here by sitting and having the best seat in the house. I was telling Alex, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just saying that was one of my favorite songs of all time, and it was thank you. That was a nice little tribute, and I appreciate it.
Did this show kind of exceed expectations a little bit? Did you have a nice time?
It did. I had a great time, especially getting an opportunity to hang out with one of my favorite people, Artis Gilmore, and now Gene Banks is going to be one of my favorite people, and I want to make sure that he comes to my celebrity golf tournament. Artis comes every year, but I want to bring Gene as well. So you share.
I don't get an invitation. No invitation for me. Where's my invitation?
I would love to come. I would love to come. Maybe you can come and meet some of them.
I appreciate that. Anything I can do to help as well, I'm there for you, my friend. I hope you have a great rest of the evening, and thank you for your presence.
Thank you, sir.
The great Alex English, guys. He's class personified, and as is this man, Mr. Artis Gilmore. Artis, my friend, man, oh man, I've learned so much about you and Alex and Gene. Did you have a nice time, my friend?
I did. It was really great, Ovi. I loved every minute of it, enjoyed it, and especially my two dear friends, Alex and Gene. We played together. We even played together in Italy. We were aroma, and we had a little bit of time together over there. It was really nice.
Was that 88, 89?
Yes, that's exactly right. Was in together.
Sure.
We played. I'm not sure how many weeks we played together, but we played together. Had some big games. Big games.
It's incredible, my friend, and I hope you enjoy this. It's kind of like a trip down memory lane for me to you. Yes, you are, my
Thank
friend.
you. That was great. That was really super.
It's my pleasure, my friend. Again, I asked the question, did this kind of exceed expectations for you, I hope?
It did. Absolutely, it did.
I'm happy.
Now
Man.
all I need to do is win that trip to Greece.
Yes, sir. That's all that's left, my friend. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. I want to say this. Your presence is a present, man. Everything about you speaks sincerity and humility, and I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
The great Artis Gilmore, guys and gals and pals who are watching. Thank you again. Thank you, Artis. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Gene, who I'm going to bring in right now. I have a thank you video for him as well. Guys, again, I'm blown away. I don't say this often. I think you guys have known, 230 consecutive episodes. I don't even know how many we've had. I don't say this often. The men that we've had on tonight far exceed the legend that they carved out on the court. And I watched a lot of ball games growing up. As you guys know, I always say baseball wasn't my sport, football was my sport, basketball was. These men are bigger legends for who they are as people than they were as players. And that's saying a lot because they're the cream of the crop. Gene, yourself included, my friend, I learned so much about you tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I got a chance to feel a little bit more about Alex. I've always admired him as a player and person. And then the artist, there's one thing they always talk about, this GOAT thing. And I say this, my greatest moment, the greatest appreciation that I had the opportunity to play with a Michael Jordan, to be on the court with a George Gervin, and to be on a court with an Artis Gilmore. So when y'all want to have who's the greatest, I don't care about that. I am lucky and fortunate and thankful, man, that I had the opportunity to play and be around these guys during that time of their greatness, but even off the court. So that to me, I've lived a good life when it comes to that, for sure.
That's lovely, man. And, they made you better. You made them better on the court. You took a program like Duke that was struggling. They were struggling a bit. And when you came in there, my friend, you were able to turn that campus around. You brought a lot of joy to people's lives. You turned that into a winning program. And that's why I hope you enjoy this, my friend. Trip down memory lane from me to you. Yes, sir. That's it. Look at that. Look at that.
Wow. And that's Isabel.
That's Isabel. Wow. Rest in peace. 97, right? 1997?
Mm-hmm.
Your uncle, right? Your uncle.
He just passed not so long ago.
Wow. Who's your favorite uncle?
Yep.
Wow. Great John Wooden.
First John was all. Oh.
Is that Terry Cummings?
That's Kobe Bryant's dad.
Wow.
Kobe Bryant.
Wow, incredible. That's
Mike
Terry
Schmidt.
Cummings, isn't it?
No, Mike Schmidt and Clarence Silverman.
Look at them. West Philly.
And Joey Crawford was the referee of that game. Remember Joey Crawford was the referee?
Wow.
He ref that game, that championship game.
Joey Crawford. Wow.
Yep. He's been out for my whole career.
Mr. Oakley.
Yep.
Oh, I love this shot. I love it. Iceman.
Nice. Yep. At my house, my mom's house.
Oh, wow. Oh, Mr. Farina, Dennis Farina.
One of my best friends.
Wow. West Philly. Krzyzewski a la Vilnavi.
The first McDonald's team.
Wow. Netanyahu.
Yep.
I can read that.
You know, that's my mom.
Wow. Orlando Woolridge.
And Billy McKinney.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. My friend, did this kind of exceed expectations for you a little bit?
Oh, most definitely. This was amazing. And to be able to have an opportunity to be on with two other people besides yourself, you got the chance to share and to listen and to be inspired, So this was beautiful. I love it. I loved it.
So are you. And I mean that. And I do want to hook up with you when the show's over.
Well, we have my Israeli buddies, man. I still talk to all of them. I still talk to them day in and day out. Mickey Berkovich. Awesome. Remember Mickey Berkovich?
Mickey Berkovich. What a shot he had.
Mickey and Avi, and I keep in contact with all those guys. They're my brothers.
What was Hennefeld? Remember Hennefeld?
Yep. Yep.
NFL was there. Mickey, wow, great. And guys, again, the published works, I want to talk about that because her
For
poetry
sure.
should be read and shared with the world. So I want to see what I can do.
It was meant for us to meet. It was meant for us to get
I think
things
so.
happen. This was meant to happen.
And I'm wearing the Duke Blue.
Yes, you are.
Gene Banks, guys and gals.
V, you're the best, man. Thank you.
You are my friend. Guys and gals, man, how fortunate are we to have be able to sit under the learning tree of an Artis Gilmore, a Gene Banks, and an Alex English. We turn it over to you right now, guys and gals and pals. You have the unenviable task of voting. Who resonated most with you? 2 out of 3 will move on. We will find out shortly.
El Diablo.
Man, oh man, who could have seen that this evening? I mean, Gene Banks.
Yeah. It's look, I'm gonna be just honest here. I wasn't too familiar with some of these amazing competitors, but I think what happens here is that we have the privilege of seeing these people as beautiful human beings, and we got a beautiful glimpse of their souls and hearts tonight. I mean, it is amazing. We had the great fortune of going into some of those beautiful memories that they shared. And I am just, wow, I'm just blown away by what they shared and some of those amazing, the history lessons, that we got today. My God. I mean, Joe, Giselle, what do you, want to give it to you guys?
Well, other than having more books added to my TBR list, thanks to this tournament, I learned about somebody I've never heard of before, Julian Francis Abley. What better place is there, and what better way is there to spend your time than finding out about all these amazing people who are never brought up, who we never hear about, but have done so many incredible, wonderful things, and they stay in the background for whatever reason. But now we get to learn about sometimes these super niche little moments in history that people have contributed to, or overall contributions to the world that aren't discussed enough. And this was an incredible night. The topics, as soon as I heard that first topic, I was going to love tonight.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it was moving. I agree, Phil.
It was. They were so vulnerable, so passionate, so compassionate, and so respectful toward each other. And to Avi and the platform and the host and everybody here, it made for such an incredibly wonderful night. This one's definitely going to be one to remember for a very long time.
Sharing about his wife, Isabel Johnson Banks, and this amazing book of, this amazing collection of poetry that she has, and bringing honor to her memory, to her work. Oh man, that really got me. That really got
Howard,
me.
I agree. Like, Isabel, I now want to know, what was her poetry? What did she do? What did she create? That's so phenomenal that we get to hear about that. And I also love that here there's a place where Alex's work was acknowledged. And speaking of acknowledging, guys and gals and pals, don't go anywhere. Joe, Howard, and Giselle are incredible. The voting will begin, followed by the outro, which includes a top 10 and a first look at next week's lineup.
That's right. So yes, the voting. So as Avi Klein so eloquently said, do not go anywhere. There's an amazing outro, and there is a potential game as well that we will be playing. But yes, also the outro is something that we will not be forgetting as well. Will it be an 11th hour match? Or a second round match?
Oh my God. We have some really big names still to come. There are favorites that we haven't seen yet in the second round. Could we be seeing some of them next week?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this earlier today that, we live in such a pre-planned, pre-packaged world that when, 8:15 or 8:20 comes and we finally see who these luminaries are, that is exciting to me, right?
But we also are getting closer, Howard, to our actual 11th hour. So, like, we got Dee Wallace, we got Jesse Ventura. Like, Avi's been keeping the big names in the back right now, and they're coming. Joe Montana, there's another one. So, like, we're on our way to big things that are coming up.
All of these names make it to round number 3. Are we going to have any upsets? We know anything can happen on any given night, but where are our favorites going to land? Are we going to see more of them? How are these 11th hour participants going to be inserted into these matches once we find out if they've moved on to round 2 or not? Could they change the entire shape of the tournament? I might have a new favorite here tonight.
Really quick. Here's another interesting fact. We saw the amazing performance like Jesse Ventura had his first match. That comes back. I mean, how much more powerful, getting more acquainted with this amazing platform. I mean, these guys are going to come in, proverbial guns blazing, put it that way.
Yes, proverbial guns blazing. And look, vote in the comment section now for topic 1 and number 2. Guys and gals, everyone, vote in the comment section right now, and we will get to your votes. Thank you so much, because we want to see who you vote for this evening of the 3.
And remember to let us know if they're for topic 1 or topic 2. We want to see you vote on both topics, who resonated with you most on each topic. So let us know that. And we are going to get started. Eric has his first vote in. Question 1, Alex, and then Artis. Question 2, Gene, and then Alex. So Alex for question 1 and Gene for topic 2. Eric, thank you so much for your votes. Get your votes in now, because your votes determine who moves on. And because this is an 11th hour match, we could potentially tie. I don't want to lose any of these 3 yet. This is the first time we've seen them, and they're awesome. Pierre Kelly for topic 1, Alex and Gene. All right, what about topic 2, Pierre? There we go. Alex and Artis. Alex has his first place for topic 1 and 2. Bill is also voting for Alex for topic number 1. Thank you for getting that in, Bill. Yes, these 11th hour matches are changing the whole dynamic of the tournament. Joe, Howard, any favorites from the 11th hour matches so far that could win this entire thing?
Oh, man. I mean, Vivica A. Fox last Saturday.
Vivica A. Fox.
Antonio Davis. I mean,
Stevie Ray.
Stevie. Stevie.
How can we not?
Oh, God. Like
Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy Bogues.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, any of those guys are, really, God, I mean, again, they got acquainted with this format and they did amazing. So again, I know I sound like a broken record, but when they come back in, I can only imagine. So that said, it is time. Yes. Oh, after brain-wrenching deliberation, I'm going with topic 1. I got Gene. He taught me something incredible. And topic 2, Alex just hit me with his answer. This was difficult. Ed, wow, since I have to pick one, all 3 were amazing men. I have to go with Gene across the board. I love it. Ed.
Pierre Kelly, can it be a photo finish? Might be tonight. We don't know, because they could tie. Round 2 matches don't have ties, but 11th hours might. It's too close to call it, says Pierre. I agree. Phil, Sleepy Floyd is one of your favorites to win it all. And we did see your vote earlier on topic 2 for Gene as well. So thank you for getting that in. Miranda, if you haven't voted yet, get your vote in. Time. Lila.
Free NX.
Free NX. Killer Purple Giraffes. Cool. Everyone who hasn't voted yet, get your votes in, because you are the engine that makes this thing go. And your votes, along with ours, which we are getting to right now, will determine who moves on. Howard.
All right. So speaking of hard decisions, let's jump into these hard decisions. So again, really amazing first topic, Mr. Avi Klein. I love that Alex read that Robert Frost poem, The Road Less Traveled. that really touched me. It was something that meant a lot to me in my first year of sobriety. So when he talked about it, but not only that, he correlated it to Martin Luther King's journey and being in that prison at that specific time in his life, and how that poem really reflects so much of Martin Luther King's journey. I love that. So for Artis, he talked about personal experience. Oh my God, when he started talking about the dealing with the KKK and that experience, I mean, I was just speechless. I can't. There's no words to put to that. He shared about that. That was so powerful to me. I'm very grateful that he did that tonight. And then we heard about Isabel Johnson Banks and her amazing work, and so and then we learned about Julian Francis Abelais. Again, learning something new every time we're here on a Saturday night I'm so grateful. And knowing that he was this amazing architect, and that he also was dealing with racism and as well, and then he also fought for civil rights. So sorry guys, this is a hard part. I'm sorry. The camera. Yes. Julian Francis Abelais built the Cameron Stadium. An amazing achievement. I had no idea.
Yes.
So learning that tonight was, I feel I made that much more better as a result.
Absolutely. Thank you, Killer Purple Giraffes, by the way. Thank you for that. For number one, it was Gene, and second, it's Alex. Ooh, thank you so much.
Great choices. Okay, so for my first topic, I'm going to go with Alex English. Amazing share. All three gentlemen really did amazing. And then for the second topic, Artis Gilmore talked about his dad and, that difficulty of perhaps being doubted if he was going to make it to the NBA and going up against that. Gene talked about Clifford C. Clark, his grandfather. Again, that was a beautiful memory that he shared, and that beautiful moment that kind of touching moment where he said, if you leave here, I would probably die. And I could, okay, Phil, the education we get every week is priceless. I completely guarantee, I totally agree with you, Phil. I'm ultimately going to go with Gene. Sharing that memory about his grandfather and taking us down that journey was just beautiful to listen to. And so I vote for Gene for the second topic. Just amazing, though, all around. I believe I'm kicking it off to you, Giselle, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Okay.
Very difficult. The topics themselves were incredible, and I could go on and on and on about that. For even coming up with 3 people, narrowing that down for that first topic for me would be practically impossible. But I love that we have Poetic Purpose and Alex English choosing Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken, to Martin Luther King, and speaking about the time that MLK put into the platform, reminding him of the poem. So we've got this whole kind of meta circle happening here where the poem is inspirational to the historical figure and the platform reminds Alex of the poem. He went into so much detail, and it was really, really great listening to him. I was enraptured. I was forgetting to come because I was so engrossed in what he was saying. And then Artis Gilmore choosing MLK again, but Mahalia Jackson, they were very great friends. She sang at his funeral. Wonderful combination there. She was such an inspiration to him as well. And living that experience really brought a whole new level to that answer and seeing that. And then Gene Banks talking about his wife first and how that connected, and then his friend and colleague, and then really teaching us about Julian Francis Abelais, designing the West Campus, the stadium, learning something new. It's really hard for me between Alex and Gene for various reasons, but ultimately for topic 1, I'm going with Alex English because of the amount of depth and detail he gave us in his answer. And then for the second topic, gosh. Where do you even begin with that? Because I know I replay conversations over and over in my head. Should I have said that? Could I have said that? Would I have said that? How would it have been different if I had done this or that? And replay those most embarrassing and awful moments that nobody else is ever going to think about, but stand out to me so much. And those moments of disagreement, those moments of potential anger and, oh gosh, lost the word, but great answers here as well. Coaches, Alex English speaking about his coach, using that as fuel. We often hear that as a constant refrain from a lot of our celebrities on this platform, how they've used somebody who said no and turned it around and showed them that they could do this, that they will do this despite your telling me no. No, I'm going to show you. I think we all have a bit of that in us as well as storytellers.
Yes.
Artis Gilmore speaking about his dad passed away before his last grandchildren were able to be seen and the personal stories there. And then Gene Banks speaking about his grandfather, the history that he went through to get the family where they were, and telling him about his decision to go to Duke. And if you leave, I'll probably die. Hearing that, I can't imagine the amount of pressure that would put on me. Hearing that, that's incredibly tough. But ultimately, you can't live in your parent's shadow, and you will have to make that decision for yourself and do what's best for you and for your parents. And they've all shown they've been so giving and selfless throughout their whole lives. But yes, my vote for the second topic is going to Gene Banks. Joe, your turn in the hot seat.
Thank you so much for that. This was a very, very tough one to call. And as mentioned before, like, you had Alex English going over his favorite poem by Robert Frost and how it relates to him. And then he discussed MLK's work with the protests, the reflection of how important it was for him to be in the thick of it. But he went somewhere that I've heard a lot of people try to attempt to go, but he went somewhere deeper for me, which was he had a legitimate choice to go somewhere that was not taken, and he had to make the hard choice on his road. And eventually, like, with that, and artists going with Mahalia Jackson and Gene's wife's poetry. But what made it for me, and why I'm going to vote for Gene on this one, is that that was his first choice, and that he chose not just poetry, but also a song related to that. And it was God Spent a Little Extra Time on Me by Kirk Whalum. And
the
fact that he spent the extra time to go.
Joe, quick question, respectfully. Now, you're talking about the power of a song compared to a poem, right? We had Alex English talking about, the Robert Frost poem. Do you think that words as they are on paper are perhaps maybe a stronger piece of art than perhaps music that has a very specific, it's music, so it has a very specific, they want you to feel a particular way with the notes that are chosen. So do you think with maybe a poem, it's something you could attach more to it because it's just words, right?
I like that you mentioned that, but I am going to put out there that with this, he did also bring up his wife's poetry, and that was like the impact that held for him. And that's the thing, is it worked in two ways, and that was something that I hadn't heard from both of those two competitors prior with Artis Gilmore or Alex English. And as much as I thought that the words were deep, they held weight to them. I think that having both a song and poetry is something that meant a whole lot more, and was what resonated with me. And that's why I vote for Gene Banks on top of
Howard,
one.
the way you phrased that question was, I don't know if I really like that so much, because they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. A lot of my favorite artists are those whose lyrics I consider poetry.
Yep.
So how many backing tracks have you? There are so many times when poetry is so much more than just a word on a page. There are dance performances to poetry. Sherry Silver and Amanda Gorman have this incredible performance of one of her works where it's not just Amanda Gorman reciting, it's a whole performance piece. Jewel has been one of my favorite singers ever since she came on the market. And not only did she write a book of poetry, I respond to her so well because her lyrics are so poetic, because she plays with language. Billy Joel also plays with language. And those are amazing
True,
pieces.
that's very true.
So I don't think these are mutually exclusive elements that we can have in these specific art forms.
Sure. Okay, well, let's have a little experiment, right? Let's have a little experiment. So I got my guitar, okay? I did not warm up the voice. But, for example, I do have the poem, The Road Not Taken, right? The first line, the first two lines in the poem are two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Okay, so now I'm just going to read it, right? Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Now let's add some chords to that, right?
Okay, so are you paying attention to the punctuation and the structure of the poem in this? Because that matters a lot when you're reading poetry out loud. You can't just read the words. There's form, there's structure, there's playing with shape on the page, and that all lends meaning to the piece.
It does. It definitely does. I'm not going to disagree with that, all right? But what I'm saying is there might be people who take that into account. And there might be
people who take that into account. No, you have to take that into account if you're going to understand.
Howard.
Okay. Here's
Howard. Each of us is going to take something into account with this. That's why it's so fantastic and dynamic that we have this position that we have here. Like Phil Donahue says, can we bring that back up? He discusses that songs are poems with a musical background, and Julio says that they bring things from both within us. They bring out some emotions that bury deep inside us at times. That's very good, and that's why we have something so unique here, the ability to vote with what resonates with us. So it's not that what you think is a disagreement with what I'm saying is a problem. It's that we just have a difference of view on this.
Yeah, I completely agree. Essentially, all I'm saying is that music can also manipulate how we take in words. So if you take that first line, two roads diverge in a yellow road, right? Now, you hear that, does it give you the same meaning, do you take the same emotional response to it, And I just chose some chords there, and I just chose the first stanza. So that's which I guess I'm asking, does it change how we take in a piece of text or poetry if you add words to it? That's all. That's essentially, if you add music to it. I'm sorry. That's pretty much. Yeah.
Does it change it?
You know what? Let's pose a question to the engine. You guys are watching. Hearing that first line being read and then hearing that first line being sung, did it change anything for you guys?
Did it?
If it did, let us know. And if it didn't, beat neck poetry. That's a great point. It's on
interpretation, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, look there, I changed it a bit, but how? How does it change it for you? The music can set the mood, but can't you do that with your own imagination as well and your own mind?
Yay! That's a great question.
Do you not get a mood and evocation of a feeling by reading the poem itself? By the part of the magic of this art form is that it creates an atmosphere using language in a different way. And think about Poe. Let's go with his most famous, The Raven.
But most famous. is this man's comment right here. Avi.
Avi's got some thoughts, and while we are waiting for those to appear, how do you feel just hearing the title, The Raven?
What? All
right, here we go.
Poetry and music, while distinct art forms, share a close relationship and often intertwine. Poetry uses carefully chosen words to express emotions and ideas, while music uses sound to evoke feelings.
And specific mood.
Yeah.
Both can be considered forms of communication, though their methods differ significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. But Giselle, okay, you brought up an interesting point. It's almost like maybe if there is no music and we're just reading poetry as it is, maybe we create the music. You know, maybe we create the music in our own minds.
But what is written here is in creating a specific mood, they both have their merit here.
Yeah.
So what Avi is saying is that each has a specific matter to which they pertain. And thus, again, bringing us down to this. This is something that we have right here, right now, that you, the audience and the engine, are viewing and experiencing that is different, and we're able to have this in a civil discussion, or in this case, a civil discourse.
Well said, Joe. Well said. Well said.
Which to be brief, to finish off, is that, because I will finish off, is that Gene was able to go into discussing his grandfather and how he had his inspiration through what he had done for him. And to go into that, music begins to atrophy when it departs too far from the dance.
Ah.
Wait, there was an ellipsis there.
Yeah.
There was.
Is there something more?
Drum roll.
We haven't even started talking about music without lyrics and what that does to you.
Yeah.
Instrumental pieces.
Yeah. No, that's
poetry begins to atrophy when it gets too far from music.
Oh, I like it, because to me, there's a symbiotic relationship. There's a relate. You know, they both need each other.
Symbiotic.
Yeah. There you go.
They're so closely intertwined because poetry is often written in specific rhythms.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. So happy you got a good time when you use them, and I agree with you too, Miranda. Well, I'll just say it. I vote for Alex on this one. He's my final vote. His discussion about his changing his shots and the fact that someone impacted him, like we are impacting each other now with our views on these comments and how it interacts and intersects with each other, just by listening to a hater, and then also just by listening to someone else changed his views. So my vote is Alex for the second topic.
Great.
Awesome.
Whew. So that's us here on the panel voting. If you have not gotten your votes in the comments section, do it right now, because we are very soon going to find out who has advanced to round 2 based on your vote. We will find that out. Then we will go to our intro and have our outro, and have our first look at next week's match. Yes, Ed Hauser.
The top 10
is perfect together. Folk and poetry, a perfect together. I agree. I do enjoy a lot of folk singers. I didn't bring that up earlier when I was speaking on some of my favorite artists, but a lot of what's considered those coffee house musicians, folk singers. I like a lot of those kinds of styles of music. That really speaks to me, the way they tell stories within the music and the lyrics to combine together. Imagine that.
Ooh.
Poetry doesn't require a tune. Music and poetry have different forms and structures.
It may not require a tune, but it does have its own rhythm, and there is a certain way you speak it when you read it. So in a sense, it is quite musical.
Yeah, no, I
agree. It's got to be close too for this voting, whoever it is.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Who do we think?
I mean, excited to see who moves on. Such a close match. Thank you, Lila.
Oh, yes, thank you.
It was. I mean, all three of those gentlemen shared. Oh, the primary difference between the two is that poetry doesn't require singing, vocals, or instrumentation. Yeah, it does not. You read it. It's your own immediate experience. Yeah, you don't need someone.
That's very fair.
Does not
Look
require,
at
but
Look at Avi. But look at Avi. Look at my boy, my beautiful boy. He's making all the. It makes me proud.
Is he stalling because this is so close?
I don't know.
Joe, it almost looked like he was with you because you looked like right to your left. You said my
Well,
beautiful.
sometimes I just gotta. I look up at Avi because Avi's so tall. So I just gotta I look up and I go, "Oh, what you thinking, Avi?" And he says, "I'm still not gonna tell you who won the tournament." Yeah. So.
Poems find their way into literary studies. People assume they're serious and more sophisticated than song lyrics. Music may be seen as inferior or lighter in nature, but neither assumption has any
That's a great point.
basis in fact.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with
Look at
that.
him again.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it Bob Dylan who recently won the Pulitzer Prize for Literature a few years ago?
I think you are correct. Yeah. I also know that, yes.
See, Avi agrees.
Yes. Julio Negron, I love how music can bring up some of our best memories from our past in such vivid detail based on the specific section of the song. Yes. I mean, case in point, Landslide for me by Fleetwood Mac. I mean, anytime I hear that, I think of parents' mother. I grew up with Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. Yeah. God, yeah. Amazing poetry. Can't wait to see who moves on. I just wanted to mention, bro, who's doing the tallying, Avi? Okay. Well, I think the man with the magic hands in the back might be doing the tallying. I was just gonna say, I think it's either Harvard or Yale. One of the Ivy League schools actually have a whole course on Tupac Shakur and his poetry and his poem.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I would love to take that. Yeah.
Same here.
That'd be incredible.
I'd love to know. I mean, with such a vast catalog as he did and such a massive influence. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Here we go. Ties do not count in any second round match, but in 11th hour matches, they do. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean?
He holds us in suspense. It's all calculated, is it? It's not coming anything more like being what they do. What does it mean, Avi? Come on, dear man.
Is he teasing us? Are we not getting results? Do we know if we're going to see all of them again? So with that, Artis Gilmore will be split into second round matches and all be appearing soon because they have all advanced to round number 2, the elimination round. Yes, they have. Well deserved. Congratulations, Artis Gilmore, Gene Briggs, and Alex English. I personally can't wait to see more of you. Joe, Howard, how do you feel about this outcome?
This is awesome. I think everyone wanted this outcome. You guys in the comment section, us three here in the screen, both of these gentlemen deserved it. They've had stellar performances. Joe, what are you thinking, buddy? All right, Joe's been muted. That's all right. I can tell by his nonverbals.
So amazing to see what these gentlemen have done and what happens in this tournament. I'm just, oh my goodness, I am so shocked and so honored to see all of this going on right now. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Ooh. Woo. I am thrilled. I could not ask for 3 better participants to move on to round number 2. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a round number 2 match. What do you think is going to happen next week? And are we going to find out? Is it going to be 11th hour? Is it going to be round 2?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. A second round match. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Or 11th round. Maybe we see some new entrants. I mean, it's exciting.
How are we going to find out what is happening next week?
Oh, well, we find out in a very special way. It is a particular video package that rhymes with nitro called the outro.
Obsession's going to be talent every time. You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed? Is it all you ever think about?
Hitting ground zero, I realized it in 2020. Spent 55 years thinking that I had things under control, and that airport incident where Candace kind of just said, "I can't deal with this if you don't take control of what you're going through." It's amazing.
If you remember or not, but we had a mutual friend and talking about you, and I said, I'd love to get an autograph from Kevin. You write to Brett, you're living everybody's dreams. These are the great years, man. Enjoy them. And it's true. I mean, it was a dream come true to be able to play professional baseball and play it at the highest level.
I choose Richard Allen. Richard Allen was a minister and an educator and actually formed the AME Church, which now we call the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And the reason I know that is because my grandma, I grew up in that church, but I remember so many times her, dragging me to church, making sure that I sat up and I listened, I sang the song.
So I got out of the ring and I'm making a decision. I want to go into teaching? Do I want to go into coaching? I wanted to do that, but I've been volunteering and doing that. But what I really wanted to do, I wanted to get backstage in my business. I wanted to be one of the decision makers. So
it was my goal, and while I was out there, I had told them, it was my goal to take every top star finish somewhere along the line. Just as the only way to sit back at what I'm old, kind of like now, and brag about it.
Early in the 70s, we were getting there. Michael Jackson was with the Jackson 5, but then there was the Osmonds, then there was the Brady Bunch, and then there was we were all together, but not really.
Obama didn't win the elections because of his politics. He won because of the debates, man. He was freestyling. They asked him a question, you start making shit up. Senator Obama, what do you think about the word it? Well, first let's think about the word it. If it means lowering interest rates so that Americans can afford homes, and it is plausible and it should work.
That's good. It cannot be all work. There's nothing wrong with work, because to be successful, one has to work. I understand that. But for myself, I do recall having homes where I would get it, be hustling, headed on to the next thing.
But you know what? She's right. When your man is messing up, never deal with a woman. Always deal with a man, because there's nothing worse than two women fighting over a man.
Say there's no more money. This is as much as we can pay. And they said, is there anything else you want to do? And I said, well, I've kind of always loved track all my life. And so now, out of that, I cover last week the NCAA championships. I do the Boston Marathon.
Because we were here, that gave us the opportunity to do some things with the Anderson Family Charitable Foundation. We weren't able to have our golf tournament this year, but we didn't want to not support Columbia, let people think we just came into the community for a couple years and left. So we were able to do that and gave $20,000 again to the food bank, $20,000 to Columbia Public Schools.
A couple of weeks ago, I was there in Detroit. I knocked on the door of the house that I grew up in. The lady answered the door. She answered the door. She like peeked through the crack in the door. She was afraid, someone was going to break into her house.
Right.
I was afraid I was going to get shot.
Turner had to settle because Turner lawyers were so lazy and incompetent, they didn't even bother and go back and go, wait a minute, he was using that toothpick and had that hairstyle before he went to WWE. We should be suing you.
Georgia, they had the first black police officer in 1985. The first fire truck that had all black people on it in Georgia. 1991. I almost feel sympathy for the people, that they was misled into thinking that an accomplishment in competition was greater than life.
But how can you have a budget in the United States of America that's more than the next 17, 18 industrial companies put together, and then you tell me 19 guys snuck in this country and didn't nobody know nothing?
A lot of me and my brother came up watching the Fantastics,
okay,
the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. We loved watching those guys. A lot of people don't know this, and I'm gonna be the first one to say it today. We pretty much made a template of those three teams and implemented it into Harlem Heat.
And he says, the only reason we're in Vietnam? And I said, why? He said, because somebody's making a lot of money. That was right out of my dad. I don't want a religious person telling me about government. I don't want a government person telling me about religion. And I don't want a draft dodger telling me what's patriotic.
I wasn't a good enough player to play at a major college. I just remember that really motivated me my senior year to work as hard as I could on the court and also continue what I was doing in the classroom.
Living in Florida with my beautiful family. I mean, all of my wife is my best friend. My kids, they're all my best friends. And we live in a place where we have unlimited possibilities.
Trying to do the same. David hits it in the air to right field. Sheffield back in the corner. At the wall, a grand slam. Johnny David.
And as we know, High Noon was not just a classic Western. It was a statement about the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Sure, I did one scene with Fred. I turned around to Skip Cook and I said, Skip, if I see anybody give this kid a note on how to act, it's you and me against them. Let everybody know. And Skip said, yeah. And I just went to Fred and said, Fred, the only thing an actor needs is a little giggle in his heart. You just gotta love doing it, and you'll be fine. And he was fine.
If you're not free of drugs and alcohol
if you're not free from food, if you're not free from overworking your damn self, you need to have time for yourself, time to live, time to breathe. My God, I'm grateful I did not. I had to carry that too. You know, carrying a 50 or 60 or 75 pound snake around, and we'd be on the road for 2 and 3 weeks at a time, all your clothing, everything you got to carry, man. The last thing I want is a 10-pound belt to carry around too.
And the number one thing that you got to tell yourself that you're going to not be defeated. And I've been very fortunate enough to have some success on that end of it. And the success brings accolades. And I think it's a personal thing when you have that.
Well, we both came over in trades. Randy came from the Giants, I came from the Phillies. And it was kind of a mix of, I don't know you yet, but we'll soon know each other. Because Phillies organization, totally different than the Giants. And I think the first game that we played together, we beat the Dodgers.
We beat somebody.
Yeah,
Hey, Mark, I barely do this, but I'm doing it now. Call it an Easter egg. I don't talk about myself in this tournament. We haven't seen you in quite some time either. Jenny's been eliminated. I want you. 1-on-1. Accept the challenge next Saturday, and let's get it on. On to our program.